Production on the movie The Batman is shut down in the UK after its star has reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. The reports on Robert Pattinson testing positive from Vanity Fair and The Hollywood Reporter. A spokesperson for Warner Brothers did not name the person, but said they're now isolating. The film had just resumed production a few days ago. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Don't waste time at the post office or UPS store. Use Stamps.com to print discounted postage and shipping labels on demand from your home or office. Go to Stamps.com today to start your 4-week trial plus free postage in a digital scale with promo code FOX. That's Stamps.com, promo code FOX.
This week, the Forest Service rolled out a brand new Smokey the Bear campaign in which the popular mascot burns to death. They say they hope the shocking turn will get people serious about preventing forest fires for once. The new campaign depicts Smokey the Bear noticing a family leave a flame unattended. Before he can put it out, the entire forest is consumed and Smokey dies in agony while trying to fight the blaze. Despite educating the public for over 70 years, the Forest Service says wildfires have only gotten worse and it was time to take their warnings to the next level. The new ads aim to show that if Smokey the Bear can be killed by the very type of fire he works so tirelessly to prevent, it could happen to anyone at any time. So what's next for the long-running campaign? Well, now that their primary spokesperson is out of the picture, the Ad Council says the PSAs will shift focus to a new character named Little Brian. He's the boy whose family caused the fire in the first place, and he's grappling with crippling guilt over Smokey's death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. As always, you're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Here in the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Tyler.
All right, so we're going to go to straight to your phone calls and your thoughts. We do have our very own co-host, Mark, on the line, calling us from sunny Florida. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I just did manage to make it into Florida.
All
and,
right.
in fact, that was the reason that I called. I just passed Valdosta, which, if you've ever traveled down I-75, you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's where the titty bar is.
There may be.
You wouldn't know.
I
forget you're married.
So what did you see?
I'm just not going to spend my money on that.
What was it that you saw that inspired you to call in tonight?
It was a large truck stop type convenience store, the kind that not only has beverages and smokes, but also the things you could decorate your house with, and a small electronics department. I mean, like a large place. And there wasn't a mask on in the place.
Excellent.
Not one.
Cool.
But
now, is there a mask mandate in Florida?
This wasn't Florida. This was Valdosta, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where the mask mandates are or not. I just keep forgetting to carry mine in. I put it in my pocket and I just don't do anything with it, basically. Somebody asked me, then I'll just put it on. But
I think
I'm just
Florida
kind of observing what I'm seeing. What's that?
Oh, I'm just saying, I believe that I saw on Facebook today that Florida's status changed, that maybe they took those requirements off, but I'm not certain of that, so don't quote me on it. Or don't put it on the radio or anything.
Okay, so that felt good, being around people who weren't being all ridiculous and overcautious?
It was nice to not have to deal with the nonsense. But when I was in Nashville, for instance, the compliance level is extraordinarily high. And I was kind of, surprised by that. Went so far as I saw a young man driving alone in his car with his mask on. I can't even understand that.
It happens. It happens up here. I've seen it. I saw that happen today.
I actually did that once. And what it was by the time I got out of the bank, because, the only time I'll put a mask on pretty much is if I go to the bank on an errand that's worth more than $10,000. So I have to go into the building. But I came out of the bank and I got in my car and I drove home, and about halfway there I was like, why can't I breathe? I'm still wearing this bloody mask. But I completely was unaware it was there.
Wow.
I'll point out this was on the interstate. So there was some period of time that it took him to get from one location to the interstate. I don't know how long that was.
That's a long time not to know.
It seems surprising.
Yeah, I definitely saw somebody like that driving on one of the interstates today as well, and it's frustrating seeing people out there being so obedient. I saw it today. We were Jay Noon and I, former co-host, occasional co-host, I guess Jay Noon. We went to install a Bitcoin vending machine in the city of Nashua, and of course Nashua has one of these mask mandates. But so we don't know exactly what it would look like if they didn't have the mask mandate, as far as how many people are being compliant versus not. But man, it was customer after customer after customer coming into this restaurant masked up, and it's hard to see it. In fact, there's statistics in the news that depression is up by like a factor of 3. Signs of depression have tripled in the United States since the COVID-19 pandemic got underway.
Oof. UK, I got an indication of like doubling of their suicide numbers.
Wow.
I believe it's ideation, not act.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't understand. It's one thing to be compliant, but it's another thing to become so comfortable with this weird compliance that you can wear your muzzle pretty much everywhere.
That's what you call institutionalization.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mark,
now,
anything else?
I want people to be able to do what they want to do. If they want to wear masks, they should wear masks. If they don't want to wear masks, they shouldn't wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
But
I agree.
regardless, I'm just trying to report back what I've seen. And I had one of your little proselytizers accost me, Ian.
What do you mean?
This guy. I take off my mask after walking out of the rest stop after using the restroom, and the guy's like, "Smells like freedom. Don't keep that thing off too long, or you'll get used to it."
Ooh, nice.
I like that. No, I actually have never said anything to somebody with a mask on. It's none of my business. I wouldn't get into somebody's business like that.
Though the thing I have,
Well, this guy would.
Yeah.
The thing I've started doing, and I started doing this just randomly. I was at the grocery store with a friend, and we were unmasked, and nobody else was. Mm-hmm. And then I saw a couple of people who were unmasked, so I walked back past the first one, and I just said kind of quietly, I said, "Thanks for showing your face." And then next guy I went by, I was just like, yeah, right on, man.
Yeah, I have thanked people who have not had masks on for being, normal face, or thank you for not wearing a mask or whatever. And I think that's as far as I would go with it, is to just show appreciation for people.
Because that's the thing. I don't want to trouble them. Right. I just want to let them know that somebody is not mad at them.
One thing I did recently that I thought was really fun was if I go into like a gas station or something, I'll just put on a quick mask, because I'm just in a hurry. But if I have to go to like Home Depot or the grocery store, I'll wear my gas mask. And the type of looks you get from people, man, it's so funny. And I wish someone would approach me or just say something, because like, what can you say, right? If they're going to be like, wow, you look stupid, I'll be like, no, you look stupid. I'm the one who's taking this seriously.
I don't think anyone would say that. I mean, you don't want to talk to the guy with a gas mask on.
No, because he's probably more prepared than you.
Well, there is that.
Either that
or
he's
he knows
crazy.
that something's about to happen.
Right?
Yeah, all right, Mark. Anything else you want to share?
Nope, that's it. I'm taking my puppies. I'm going back to Florida.
So it sounds like, in summary, Nashville, masks were everywhere, and at a gas station in Valdosta, not so much. I mean, that's sort of what you might expect, right? It's the urban areas where masking seems to be more popular. It's where you find more of the obedient types, and so it seems like what you'd expect.
But also
out in the country, as usual, out in the country, you can go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mark, for the call. Appreciate hearing from you tonight. Go ahead.
Of course, well, the other thing is just, I mean, I'm no epidemiologist, but I would suspect that you will find a lot more cases per capita Basically, cases per capita should correlate positively with population density just because of the physics of the transmission of things. If it's a real disease. If it didn't, I would start wondering how people were catching this disease that it didn't relate to population density.
Well, not very many people have caught it from what we can tell.
Well, and
that's certainly not here.
That difference between rural and cities happening here too. I went into the 7-Eleven here in town probably like a week ago, and I forgot my mask, so I just went in. And nobody said anything to me until I was walking out the door, and then the manager came and hurried around the counter and was like, "Excuse me, sir, you need to wear a mask next time you're in here." And I was just like, "Whatever, dude, it's medical exemption." And he's like, "Okay, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. What do you want me to say?" And then
that's what they want you to say.
That is what they want you to say. It's the key word, because they can't do anything about it anyway. 15 minutes outside of town, I had to stop for something else. Not a single mask in the whole gas station. They would have looked at me funny if I had worn one. At least I got that impression, yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I might well respond to that with medical exemption. Want a cease and desist letter? Which, of course, is the first thing your attorney will send as part of that sort of lawsuit.
Well, our new neighbor Calvin, who goes regularly to the Aldi grocery store, had been kicked out like 3 times, and he came to me and told me that it had happened again. And I said, "Well, did you use the medical exemption?" And he said, "No, he didn't know about that." And he went back the same day. The same manager who'd kicked him out, the previous 3 times, said, "Do we have to go through this again?" And Calvin said, "Medical exemption," and the manager just let him in.
Let him in.
No problem.
Just 2 words.
That's what he wanted to hear.
Because the thing is, the management isn't even scared. The management is scared of the government. They're not scared of the disease.
Well, I think that they are scared also of their customers.
That too.
And they can't tell, because of all these mandates out there with masks, they can't know for sure what percentage of their customers would normally not wear a mask, but now they're afraid of the government, so they're wearing a mask. So what percentage of the customers that are masked are actually really afraid of COVID versus those who are afraid of the government and just don't want to be bothered by either some employee or a police officer?
Yeah.
The way to find out is hand out masks that say useless mask and see who chooses that one over a blank one.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. You can join us here on the radio. Well, since we're talking about this, let's go to the worst place in the United States, one of them, New York City, and we'll tell you what's going on there. Coming up.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she said, "Oh, he must be allergic to the chicken." Another vet said, "It's the grain." Third vet, she said it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to these Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10. And the Dynavite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. U.S. Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Acon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel too.
Overburdened with material comforts, America's wealthy can expect another disappointing holiday this year. As Brian Scott tells us, the rich will simply be buying too many things to experience the true meaning of Christmas.
All across the country, those at the top of the economic ladder are denied a privilege that the poorest of the poor take for granted. Rather than fall victim to the rampant consumerism that seems to increase each year, the poor find meaningful joy in simple Christmas traditions, like singing carols to keep warm and hugging relatives who have not yet died. At stores like these, the spiritually bereft must scramble for popular holiday toys in a vain attempt to duplicate the Christmastime happiness that the impoverished enjoy.
Poor people are grateful for just a roof over their heads or something to eat. My wife and I are both lawyers, so that's not enough for us. I certainly hope poor people don't take what they don't have for granted.
This is the Onion News Network.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Just take control of the airwaves. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's all you got to do. Dial that number. We'll get you on the air. Or you can call us on our Discord server over at discord.lrn.fm. It is super easy to get on there, and you'll usually sound way better than you do on the phones at discord.lrn.fm. Free Talk Live brought to you by AnyPay, which just rolled out their WordPress WooCommerce plugin. Now, if I'm speaking Greek to you, then I apologize. You don't know what WooCommerce is. It's the world's top commerce plugin for WordPress. What is WordPress? The world's basically the top system to manage a website, essentially, to build a website.
Well, specifically, it's blogging software. There's a lot of different shapes of website, and this one does one particular shape.
That's not true, though, nobody, because it sort of started as that, but it's now used for a lot more than blog sites. It's used for nice presentation business kind of sites, just pitching a product or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of WordPress applications that are not at all related to blogs these days. Okay. It's, I think, running 40% or 25%. It's like a quarter of the world's websites are run by WordPress, and most of those are not blogs.
Oh, wow.
Blogs are not what they used to be, you know. But check out their... So if you're running WooCommerce, you've already got a store up and running, and you want to start taking cryptocurrency, AnyPay makes it easy. Just turn on the AnyPay plugin. You got to add it to your WordPress site, and then you put your AnyPay email address in there, and boom, you're ready to start accepting crypto, presuming you already have AnyPay set up, which takes like 5 minutes. So it's super easy. Get started over at anypayinc.com, anypayinc.com. Mark called in, our regular co-host. He's traveling down to Florida, was kind of giving us his perspective on what he's been seeing. It was in Tennessee and Nashville. Saw a lot of people wearing masks, but not so much on the gas station on the side of the road in Georgia. So there still seems to be quite a range of compliance going on out there. But New York City is definitely one of the worst places as far as the corona crackdown is concerned. Apparently, dining establishments are still closed in New York City. So, like around here, I mean, we thought it was bad here in New Hampshire, and it was bad. I mean, it's been bad here in New Hampshire. Like, it's
and when we say it was bad, we don't mean anybody got sick. Actually, we just mean that it was bad trying to find some place to eat or work or do anything.
Right. The crackdown here was very real, and it's still continuing. It is not as bad as it was a few months ago, but in some ways it's worse. Like with some of the cities, for instance, here in Keene, they passed a mask mandate, and now I guess Manchester is looking at a mask mandate as well. The city I was in today, Nashville, was one of the first, I think, to pass one with a $1,000 fine for individuals, I believe. So it's pretty intense in some of these places.
And we've been walking around with our faces hanging out for 6 months.
Yes.
So it's really a mystery what exactly these bozos are trying to accomplish beyond greater compliance.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, whether these people in like the city of Keene are connected with some sort of conspiracy, I don't think that's the case. I think they believe they're doing the right thing.
Right.
I think they believe that there's this terrible pandemic out there and they're just trying to keep people safe. But ultimately, the result is a mass experiment in compliance.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I've heard from people that the cops in Keene here aren't really even enforcing it anyway.
They're
Like,
not
they'll
in
show
favor
up
of
on a
it.
call and they'll talk and stuff, but like they're
They
not.
usually don't have a mask on either, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Yeah, we had cops come over the other day and they weren't wearing masks. So I mean, they're not doing it themselves.
Right. That's a key indicator. If the cops themselves aren't going along with it, that's a good sign. Now, normally if I'm on the same side as the police, I will question my position.
True.
But politics does make for strange bedfellows, as they
you're
say.
sleeping with them?
They say never to kiss and tell.
Okay, yeah, it's a better plan.
But in New York City, I suspect the situation is quite different, where there you can't even go into a restaurant, and they're now talking about what it will take to allow people to go back into restaurants. So this is what the governor of the state has as an idea on a press conference today. He said he will not be allowing indoor dining to return to New York City unless local politicians devote significant police resources to enforcing social distancing and other reopening conditions.
So that sounds like a sweetheart deal for the police union. That's a lot of overtime.
More jobs.
A lot of money for these guys. They're going to be happy.
Didn't they get rid of like 600 of their officers or something like when this whole thing started? So they got to find reasons to bring them back.
Did they lay them off?
Something
or
like that. I
dump
heard
them
that
in the
they got
ocean?
rid of all their plainclothes police. That whole department they got rid of, like early on. I mean, don't quote me on it. I'm pretty
That
sure I read
sounds
something like that
unbelievable.
about 3 months ago. Yeah. Well, when the riots started, that's where it came from. But
Well, I know that a lot of the cops just wanted to go home because they didn't want to be around and have to deal with, actual violence and things like that.
Well, yeah, they might have just not had enough
easier
police
just to
to
bust-
want to do it. Not to want to come in. So they were just like, oh, we're going to get rid of this department, when really they had no one to fill the department.
Could be.
Yeah.
So much easier just to bust pot smokers. They'll probably be polite to you while you're arresting them.
Yeah, they're likely not to,
Bad tactic.
Fight back in that case. So he says that, quote, our rules and guidance on reopening is only as good as the compliance and the enforcement, he said, adding that state resources have already been stretched thin attempting to enforce limits on the serving of alcohol by outdoor restaurants in the city. Quote,
because we know that alcohol is the best thing for any microorganism. Viruses, bacteria, they love alcohol. They're drunks is what they are.
quote, if we open restaurants, that's going to complicate by the hundreds, if not the thousands, the number of establishments that have to be monitored, he said. So it's not just like let people make their own choices, let business owners and customers make their own decisions. No, we have to have bureaucrats watching everyone. We have to have somebody with a badge and a clipboard and a ticket writing book to observe and make sure that no one is violating the rules. Else we can get money from them, because then that's revenue. And they need some revenue right now.
See, there should be some kind of an exchange program where like states can we'll trade our cowards. We got 100 cowards in New Hampshire. We'll trade it for 100 brave men from Massachusetts if they can find 100 brave men in Massachusetts.
Hey, let's do a 10-to-1 swap. We'll give them 100 cowards. We'll just take 10 brave men. I mean, I'm fine with that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually, that would tend to reduce rent, so that would be great.
Restaurants are allowed to open for outdoor dining in New York City, but can only serve alcohol to seated patrons who've also ordered a meal, per a July executive order from Cuomo. So they're really making sure that no one has a good time.
Yeah, it seems like
during COVID. You can only get alcohol if you also order food now in New York City. And I suspect that means that bars are closed. That's my
I wonder
guess.
if they're fattening us up for Soylent Green.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what their end game is on this thing.
They may not know.
They may not.
Although
RFID chips, I'll go ahead and tell you right now.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Well, I
think
definitely
about it.
expect
The currency thing's happening at the exact same time that this virus is happening. We're having a coin shortage, right? And now everyone's talking about
Awfully
how dirty
convenient.
money is. Yeah, it all seems real convenient.
And not just a coin shortage, but a dump of cash into big business. I mean, they gave, as I recall it, they gave Americans like less than $1 billion, maybe a third of $1 billion, but then they gave $3 trillion to the banks and the cronies.
Yep.
So that's almost like an exit scam for the dollar.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Hold that thought. We're going to continue here. Your calls and thoughts, 855-450-FREE. Make a note so we don't forget. Tyler, 855-450-3733. You can join us as well. Bring up whatever's on your mind and take control of the airwaves. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. Just take control of the airwaves by dialing in toll-free, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Is it as bad as New York City, where you are, where they're not even allowing indoor dining in restaurants at this point?
Hell no, I'm in New Hampshire.
The head of the gang there in New York, Andrew Cuomo, says that they need at least 4,000 bureaucrats to be on the streets enforcing in and around businesses, restaurants specifically, to make sure that people stay close to their social distancing rules. We can tell you more about that, but I also want to tell you about Intercoin. They've got an architecture that enables programmable coins with a variety of applications. Merchants can add tags like books, food, or clothing to their products, and authorized users can see statistics on how the money was spent. Experts can analyze the local economy, donors and investors can have more confidence, and everyone in the community can have a real-time consumer price index to inform their democratic decision-making and address issues like rising prices or shrinking wages. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so we accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Incorporated for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. Intercoin.org. So we're talking about the latest out of New York City.
New York City?
Get a rope. Where they are saying here that apparently in the rest of the state, restaurants are allowed to open, but only at 50% capacity. And that's providing they maintain 6 feet of distance between parties and follow other so-called distancing guidelines. Earlier this week, one New York City restaurant filed a $2 billion class action lawsuit against the state and local officials over their continued ban. So that's a little bit of good news. But
now, something I'm wondering here is restaurants, I seem to remember that the number was that 4 out of 5 of them go out of business within 5 years of being opened.
That sounds right.
So
yeah,
I would love to see the statistics if anybody's gathering them. And of course, we'd have to do this for a while. I'd love to see the statistics on what if you run your restaurants at half capacity?
You don't
what
survive.
Percentage survive?
Yeah, I would say it's probably close to zero.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like restaurant margins, profit margins are super thin, right? Like 80% fail their first year anyway.
Right. I think that was the correction I was going to make to what you said, Nobody. I think it's supposed to be 80% fail their first year, and then the remaining 80% fail by the 5th year.
So I think you're right, actually.
A huge chunk dies within that first year.
Wow.
And then the rest of them die within 5.
After very few summers dies the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that as the farther this goes on and the more we realize that it wasn't that big of a deal, and the CDC just released that like the number of people that died from COVID without any other comorbidities was like under 10,000. You think that would be enough to calm people down, but it's getting worse.
Okay, you quoted that number, so let me correct a common misapprehension that people have, which is that doesn't necessarily mean that only 6% died of the COVID, if you will, because there may be a significant portion of the remainder that would have recovered from whatever it is else they had.
True.
But died because their body could not cope with both. But I think that's a relatively limited number because if you look at the age stats on the people that died, they were up there. So I don't think it's a high number, but it's not fair to say only 6% died of the COVID. That's not quite right.
Well, putting my tinfoil hat back on and going back to what I was talking about earlier, to me, it's astonishing because it just seems like they're trying to propel this forward longer and longer, and we don't know the reasons, right? But I think, so you've got the fact that contact tracing is becoming normalized, and you've got the fact that paper currency is getting stigmatized.
They've been trying to do that for a long time.
And they have been, and now it's a good excuse. But the last thing I wanted to say before the break was mask normalization, right? Like, it's funny because I just noticed the other day getting out of my car, I was like, it's kind of funny how the government normalized every time I get out of my car, I feel like I'm about to rob a bank, right? I put my mask on. What's going to happen?
Stop doing that.
I know. Just stop doing it. You're absolutely right. But
go to the doctor and say it hurts when I do that.
I
Doctor
should.
says, oh, don't do that.
Yeah, and the thing is that even when all the rioting and stuff dies down, the idea that we're supposed to be wearing masks in public is going to be normalized, and then people are going to start using the masks as a way to just, to break laws. Now it's like you don't look suspicious with a mask on anymore. Now you're just a normal person.
I'm surprised.
Not just that, but imagining, if you were trying to kidnap a child, put some duct tape over the kid's mouth, put a mask over the duct tape so it's not visible. You can't recognize the child. You can't see that their mouth is taped. That's
scary.
frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we haven't seen an uptick noticeably yet, or have we? I mean, maybe the crime is up, and I just haven't heard anything about that. I mean, certainly we're not going to see it around here because everybody's armed.
Oh, yeah.
In New Hampshire.
Right.
But you make an interesting point. I mean, I wonder if that's happening in city centers and things like that.
Yeah, crime's up across the board. If you look at big cities, Chicago's having some of the worst crime statistics, and LA I think is the same way.
And I think its homicides are big.
Well,
right.
Yeah, and I expect that's part of the reason why the police are against the masks.
Yeah,
I suspect that's part of what they're against.
Well, and I think it's partially the masks in terms of ease of getting away with things. But the other thing is, and I think part of the reason between the heightened level of violence with the Black Lives Matter things is people are going stir crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
people are going out of their freaking minds.
Right.
And it's not. None of us were built for this.
Right. Well, because humans are social animals, and people mostly need to spend time with other people. I mean, there are certain people who don't generate, good feelings from being around others, but for the most part, it's generally something that that people seek at some level or another. But yet, if you're locked up in your house all day and all night, and some places, in Australia, for instance, it's like a level 4 crackdown or whatever it is they call it out there. Like, it's a serious lockdowns are still in some places in the world.
They arrested a pregnant woman in Australia for social media post
because she was planning an event.
Yeah,
she was planning a freedom event, and they arrested her in front of her kids. Yeah, in front of I think somebody holding a video camera as well.
I think she was actually sitting in front of her computer live streaming when they came, so she just left it on.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that all this social distancing is gonna probably ruin our immune systems. We're not getting the normal bacteria that we usually get. We're not, we're not shaking each other's hands anymore. We're not touching each other. I bet this winter we're gonna have record flu deaths because of this, and they're gonna use that as an excuse to propel this whole thing forward. Keep going with it.
Keep it going. Keep the masks on.
It would be fascinating, and of course they won't. Either they won't track the statistic, or if they do, they'll release it only if it's favorable to them. But I would love to see something about, people getting sick this summer or this winter, and what percentage of them were anti-maskers. Like, does the rate of sickness change for overall, and does it change for maskers versus anti-maskers? I'm going to guess that maskers will get sick more.
I think you're right. I think that there's already some numbers that are backing that up. They saw that there were a fair number of people that were getting COVID even though they were locking themselves down. They were home alone or whatever. So,
and of course, the other thing is you've got people getting staph infections off these masks. You've got all kinds of facial infections, skin infections. I've seen pictures.
Too.
Some of these are nasty.
Yeah, I haven't seen the pictures, but I did hear something about maskne, like acne, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Mask-caused acne.
Oh, if you're wearing it 8 hours a day at work, like some of these people have to, it's ridiculous.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I've put one on has been to go to one specific bank that I had to go to, and they wouldn't accept a medical exemption. So I finally had to do it, and it was awful for the 30 minutes that I was in that bank. I can't imagine having to sit there all day long with that thing on.
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes me angry. Just that feeling you can't breathe, even if it's just for 20 minutes, It's too much.
Well, more people need to start refusing. I mean, ultimately, that's what it's going to take. I mean, if people want to change this, you got to stop going along to get along And look, it's no fun. I mean, I was at this restaurant today in Nashua, and normally if I were going to talk to somebody at a restaurant, I wouldn't be nervous. But when the manager came up, because I had to I wanted to check in with the manager. We're going to install a machine on her wall, and I wanted to let her know we were there and all that. And I could tell my adrenaline level was up. It was like I was talking to a cop or something like that. And I thought about it on the way home, and I'm like, this shouldn't be happening to me. I shouldn't be feeling afraid or whatever, or excited, scared or whatever about talking with somebody at a restaurant. But I don't, what are they going to say?
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
With a MECTEC carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MECTEC is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit. More compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MECTEC is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. All you got to do, dial toll-free to join us. On the radio, our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. By the way, I want to say thank you to Northern Populist, who is a Free Talk Live platinum level amplifier, meaning Northern Populist contributes $25 a month, at least, to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It is a way for you to help us get Free Talk Live and the ideas of freedom onto more radio stations around the United States. So if you value what we do here, please join the AMP program. And we only ask for $5 a month. Northern Populist decided he wanted to do at least 5 times that amount, so thank you for that. But we're only asking $5, and we do appreciate your support. And you get some cool perks, some bennies, some bonuses if you join up over at amp.freetalklive.com. ampamp.freetalklive.com. Whether you want to talk about the latest crackdown, insanity, institutionalization of the population, the obedience training that we're seeing going on around and about this whole COVID thing, you're welcome to comment on that. And in other, I guess, related news, there's a lot that we can discuss out there regarding this, but there's, again, signs of depression have tripled in the United States since the pandemic got underway. So-called pandemic. Again, is it really a pandemic if you don't know anyone who's caught or has died from, more so in this case? Let's talk, though, to Mark in Alabama. Mark, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Nobody, and Tyler.
Hey, how's it going, Al?
Hey, Mark, you're on the air.
All right. So I'm considering moving to New Hampshire. Guess I'm mostly just looking for advice, since you guys are there. It seems logical to ask you for that. I'm having some trouble finding employment opportunities in particular.
Okay, so are you looking for something that's very specific, like, you know, in a job category or whatever, in a specific industry, or are you kind of open to whatever's out there?
Well, I'm always open to whatever makes more sense or makes the most sense. My expertise, I guess if you could call it, I've been driving a truck for the last 6 years, so I have no idea what that market is like around there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't either. I'm not in that particular field. However, it would seem to me that there's always a need for people who are good behind a wheel and are willing to work the hours that professional drivers are expected to work. It's one of those things that, the people that have gotten work up here in New Hampshire, they have said that generally the common thread that you hear from them is that moving here makes it easier, or at the very least having a phone number that appears to be from New Hampshire, so when you're putting in applications you appear as though you're here, even if you may not have actually moved yet. But having moved here obviously helps, or looking like you've moved here can help in those areas. And actually moving here helps, because then you can find jobs that you may not otherwise find using some sort of online method. You might just see a sign as you're driving down the road, that kind of thing. Have either of you had any in the studio here had any observations regarding finding work in New Hampshire?
Well, I moved here 2 years ago, and I didn't have any experience. I had just gotten out of the Navy, so I waited to look for work until I moved here for that reason. I wanted a local address on my resume, and I thought that would help, and it did. I mean, I got a job as a bartender within like 3 weeks of moving here, which was surprising to me. But that would be my advice: is if you want to move here and you're moving here for the right reasons, then make the move. Get to know people, network, get a local phone number, get a local address, and I think that you're going to have a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of industry up here.
Yeah.
New Hampshire's economy is doing pretty well.
All things considered, it is. In fact, I would say there's more opportunity right now in certain areas than there was before COVID. Once again, I mean, just the one restaurant I was at today, I talked to the owner. It used to be a 24-hour establishment before COVID, BC. It was 24 hours, and now it's no longer 24 hours. In fact, I don't think there's hardly anything in Keene that was – we had a few things that were 24 hours before that are no longer. There's a 24-hour grocery store here that's no longer. But in his case, he said they were no longer 24 hours. And the reason isn't because of like COVID necessarily. It's because they can't find enough people who want to work.
Ooh.
So I mean that's because of COVID, right? Like people are afraid to come to work. They're afraid to have jobs interacting with people,
or they don't want to put a mask on for 8 hours. I've heard a lot of people quit their jobs as a result of masking. Just talking to people, like, I couldn't take it for 8 hours. It's not the same as being in the grocery store for 15 minutes.
And worse, being in a hot kitchen or something like that with a mask on. It's bad enough if you're in just air conditioning. It's frustrating and annoying. If you're actually in a hot kitchen and you got to breathe your own exhalations in, I mean, that is...
Couldn't imagine.
That's no good.
Sounds miserable.
So, there are definitely opportunities out there for people who are willing to work. I mean, the only question is, Mark, can you come up here with or without savings? Because obviously if you have a bit of a buffer, it helps as far as getting your lease underneath you or buying a house or whatever it is that the plan might be to come up here. But if you've got some money that you can rely on, then you're not as desperate, right? Like, you don't want to be desperate for a job. You want to be interested in a job, but not desperate for one, I think.
Okay. What about how's the rental market? My plan, as much as you might consider it to be a plan, at this point would be to pay rental prices 6 months in advance.
Oh, I think a landlord would love you if you were if you were willing to pay 6 months in advance. You will be the new favorite tenant, I think, by any landlord. Because right now, what was it? The CDC just sent an order out 2 days ago, I think, saying that now no landlord can evict a tenant based on non-payment of rent nationwide. I mean, I don't know if that's legal, but they just did it, so,
there's
crazy.
no constitutional support for that at
Right.
all.
It's legal now until somebody challenges it, and so it's just crazy what's going on out there. So I think, whether there are rentals available or not, that's an excellent question. Some things are different here right now. I mean, I can't speak to the rest of New Hampshire. I'm only here in Keene, and I'm not a renter, so I can't speak specifically to that. But I know that normally around this time of year, rentals tighten up because there's a lot of college students that are coming back in. But not all of them are coming back this time, so there may be more rentals available on the market than previously. We know a lot of houses are getting snapped up as far as purchased homes. Those are going fast here because there's a lot of people. I suspect we're seeing the numbers, we're seeing the studies. Huge numbers. I think I just actually saw a headline on the Drudge Report since we were talking about New York earlier. I think it's 2 out of 5 people in New York City want out.
Yeah.
And those people are looking right now at properties. They're looking and they're buying them, and they're moving places like this, sadly.
And if you sell a house in New York City, you can buy you can buy a dozen of them here.
You better sell it now because it's. I think the prices are going to be dropping in New York.
Well,
City.
I would suspect so if that many people are leaving.
Yeah, great exodus.
Yeah, Mark, I'm a renter, so I can tell you that as far as the local economy goes, I feel like rent is high in New Hampshire. Part of it has to do with the fact that they have...
Well, you're in Keene, and it is high.
And Keene, college towns are higher.
Property taxes are all
And
the taxes.
property taxes are through the roof out here. But
if you go out in the woods around Cheshire County, you'll
that's
get
exactly
lower,
what I was going to say. As long as if you know someone, or if you just look in a rural area, you can get really cheap rent. And when I moved here, property... you were paying, ridiculously low prices compared to some states to buy a house. I'm not sure what it looks like right now, but it was nice 2 years ago.
Not a good time to buy, I don't think, because it's a buyer's or it's a seller's market right now in real estate. There's people bidding up the prices of houses out there. There are so few, there's so many buyers and so few properties available that there are sometimes bidding wars for property.
You think that's the beginning of inflation flowing through, or?
Well, I mean, it's a factor. There's no doubt about it. And Mark, I'd also recommend connecting on our not social media, but our forum. There's a Shire Society forum at forum.shiresociety.com. It's a good place to go and kind of introduce yourself to some of the folks that are already here in New Hampshire, and it's not one of those, Facebook lands where there's some corporation that's lording over the forum. So it's not a place that's going to just disappear, tomorrow if the Facebook masters want that. So I would recommend starting there, and I appreciate your call tonight, Mark. And the forum's also a good place because then you can, to some extent, crowdsource and get different opinions because there's only 3 people in this room, and we all live in Keene, and there's a large place. New Hampshire's got a lot of towns. I think there's 200 towns or something like that or more here in New Hampshire. And so there's a wide variety, everything from the seacoast where prices are high to, like I said, the middle of the woods where you don't have to pay that much to live in those places. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So thank you, Mark, for your call here tonight. And if you find yourself depressed and in the city and loving liberty, then you really should start to, consider what it's going to take to get out of there. Why are you staying there is another question you might want to ask yourself. Is it because the work is that great? Are you really loving the job that you have there in the big city? Is that what's keeping you there? Is it family? What is it? What's the reason why you would stay in a place like New York City?
I can't think of one.
Why, you mad bastard?
Yeah, I don't get it. 850, especially now.
Yeah.
Okay, 855-450-3733. You can join us here on the radio. Take control of the airwaves on Free Talk Live. Hour 2 is coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Off the job. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The mayor of Rochester, New York, has suspended a group of police officers involved in the death by suffocation of a black man. Daniel Prude died March 30th after his family took him off life support, 7 days after officers who encountered him running naked through the streets put a hood on him to stop him from spitting, then held him down until he stopped breathing.
Mr. Daniel Prude was failed by our police department, our mental health care system, our society, and he was failed by me.
Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren body camera footage of the incident was released yesterday by Prude's family that they obtained through a public records request. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden traveled to Kenosha, Wisconsin today, where he met with the family of Jacob Blake, the black man shot and severely wounded during an encounter with police.
What I came away with was the overwhelming sense of resilience and optimism that they have about the kind of response they're getting.
Biden said he also spoke with Jacob Blake and that he talked about how nothing was going to defeat him and whether or not he walked again. He was not going to give up. President Trump was in Kenosha Tuesday but did not meet with Blake's family. This hour, the president is in Latrobe, Pennsylvania for a campaign-style event. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee seeking an investigation of what they call repeated violations of the Federal Hatch Act by members of the Trump administration during the Republican National Convention. The law is intended to limit political activity by federal employees in their official capacity, although it does not apply to the president and vice president. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has dismissed the concerns, saying nobody outside the Beltway really cares. America is listening to Fox News. Russia reacts to allegations by Germany that an opposition leader was poisoned by Moscow.
One day after the German government said Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was poisoned with a deadly nerve agent, the Russian government denied the charge. Traces of Novichok, a product of Russia's chemical weapons stockpile, was found on Navalny, who remains gravely ill. The poisoning comes days after a Russian fighter jet buzzed an American B-52 bomber over the Black Sea in what U.S. officials called a headbutt maneuver, passing in front of the nose in full afterburner, creating turbulence for the U.S. Air Force bomber crew. Last week, Russian forces sideswiped a U.S. military vehicle in Syria, injuring 7 American soldiers. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
The family of a Dallas man fatally shot by an off-duty police officer who said she mistook his apartment for hers is suing the apartment complex where he lost his life. Botham Jean was shot and killed September 6th, 2018 by Officer Amber Geiger. She was convicted last year and is serving 10 years in prison. A feature on the social media app WhatsApp is coming to Facebook Messenger to help fight fake news.
Facebook introducing a forwarding limit on Messenger, preventing a message from being forwarded to more than 5 people or groups at a time. In a blog post, Facebook reps say the goal is to stop the spread of harmful content and viral misinformation. Facebook's WhatsApp unveiling a similar forwarding limit earlier this year. Amid a pandemic and an election season, Facebook is ramping up its efforts to prevent fake news. The company unveiling COVID-19 and election information centers and announcing plans to ban new political ads the week before the presidential election. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
A celebration of the life of actor Chadwick Boseman beginning this hour in his home of Anderson, South Carolina. City spokesman Beth Batson says the tribute will include a viewing of Black Panther. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
The entire nation has been transfixed by the emotional saga of missing toddler Aaron Crawford. Police remain baffled by 4-year-old Aaron's mysterious disappearance. The Crawford family is finally speaking out, but it isn't easy.
We're taking it day by day, you know? We just miss our baby so much.
This must be so hard on everyone.
All he does is cry. I hate him.
Little Aaron was last seen in the bedroom he shares with his older brother, Denny. Authorities say he was abducted by an intruder in the middle of the night.
Denny was in the room when Aaron was taken.
Yeah, right here. Now it's just my room.
Denny, can you tell us what happened?
I was in my room. The man lifted up the window and came in.
Were you scared?
Yes, because I thought he's going to take my Xbox.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want. Just dial in toll free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And in the studio with you tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Tyler.
So we were talking about the New York City situation where now they're still not allowing people to dine inside in restaurants. You can dine outside, but of course it's now the last 3 weeks of summer, which means that it's going to be getting cold out there in those outdoor dining tables in New York City real soon. Maybe not this week. maybe not next week, but come late October, it's definitely going to be cold out there. And, it's one thing to sit down and wolf down a quick lunch at an outdoor dining spot during the fall. It's another thing to sit down for an hour long or an hour and a half long date or a business meeting or something like that. You don't want to be out in the elements in those cases. But as of right now, there's no immediate plan to reopen because the governor of New York is saying they are going to need a, quote, task force of as many as 4,000 officers to crack down, as they claim they will be needing to do on the various different premises out there, and write tickets and make arrests if necessary for people that won't follow the rules.
New York's just racking up debt, and all the rich people are moving out. Yep, and they're all moving up here, other places, and they think it's a good idea to just come up with another department and spend more money.
More cops.
Cops.
Well, let me make a suggestion. If New York is your kind of place, chances are New Hampshire is not. Because we're all about the freedom here. You might want to try California, New Jersey,
I heard
the
California,
ninth circle of hell.
That's the thing. I was wondering, maybe I shouldn't be telling people to move to New Hampshire during a time like this because you might get the wrong ones.
Well,
we're doing great up here.
If somebody's a freedom lover, then we want them.
We want those ones.
You
for
just
sure.
need to qualify the prospects. That's all.
Yep.
It's not a blanket invitation. If you don't like freedom, please don't move here. You will be unhappy. It will be cold, and you will be unhappy. So just move somewhere.
And if you cry, we'll laugh at you.
Just move somewhere where people are more like you and they like big government, and they, if you want to have cold weather, there's plenty of big government places that have cold weather. Okay, Massachusetts
right there.
Massachusetts, I've heard somebody calling it. So, again, you want to comment, you can join us here, 855-450 free. Cuomo saying during his press conference that, again, he wants as many as 4,000 officers to police indoor dining establishments. And he says, or this is New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio saying at a press conference that he was looking at extending the city's open restaurants initiative, which allows businesses to set up on sidewalks, curb lanes, and streets beyond its current October 31st expiration date.
Master is so generous.
He's allowed us to open.
What do you think the odds are that they're going to come up with some kind of new rule or new statute that says that they can open up once it's cold enough that their businesses would fail otherwise? Because they'll come up with something. Or, they might just keep it all closed all winter, which would blow my mind. I don't know how they're going to survive that.
I don't know how they've made it this far, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, my theory is if they're made to do this all winter, they're not meant to survive. They're meant because they're killing businesses, and I don't know why they're killing businesses because the death toll certainly doesn't justify.
They're killing the small businesses. That's the problem too, because all these corporations, they can figure out these little rules that they can set up and come up with plans and stuff that the government approves of to let people come inside, and usually it's just the security theater. Wear your mask in the door, wear it as you walk to your table, but then take it off and do whatever you want. Who cares? It's weird.
But you got to pay off the right guy for that to happen.
Right.
There have to be favors, incidents, and accidents, and hints and allegations.
The mayor remained. So, again, there's two of these goons in this article. There's the governor who's saying there needs to be 4,000 cops to enforce this particular thing, essentially restaurant cops. And the mayor is saying he is non-committal about when indoor dining might return, saying, quote, it has to be health and safety first. It has to be, how do we defeat coronavirus? That's the first consideration.
Well, and the other thing, too.
Your business doesn't matter. Your jobs don't matter.
Right. 4,000 bureaucrats. Are these temporary bureaucrats? Where are you going to find people that can do? Because here's the thing. I imagine they're going to make 4,000 new positions that all require pensions at some point. And then once this whole thing ends, what are you going to do with those 4,000 people? Or is it going to end? I feel like that just makes
if they've got a union by that time.
Right.
They could always outlaw alcohol again. That makes a lot of pointless work for people.
That worked great the first time.
Well, they kind of already have done that by only allowing people to have alcohol when eating a meal. So you can't just go to one of these outdoor-only restaurants and sit down and order alcohol and walk away. They want you to have food along with the alcohol. So it's already
stunning and brave.
Yeah, it's already semi-prohibition.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out. You just want to go out and have a drink with your friends. Sorry, you can't do that now. In New York City, you can't do that now.
That's like the one place you'd think that's what you're going to go do.
That's what people do.
Right.
It's a city that never wakes.
It's just so sad watching this. And, again, it's not as bad here in New Hampshire, but it's also not great here either.
It's hard to feel bad for those people, though. It's like if you live in New York,
you know
made
what
a
you're
choice.
getting.
Yep. You have
keep
every right.
making the choice.
Right.
Because you could choose. You still can leave. I mean, even though they got checkpoints up, you can still leave.
Although the thing that I'll say about New York that I loved is, and I don't think it's this way now, is that in New York they broke the rules.
Sure.
Like you couldn't have an after-hours club that went all night, except there were under-hours after-hours clubs that underground after-hours clubs that went all night, and they didn't have a license. You just had to know where they were. And I am guessing that given this recent plague of Karenism, that I would guess that that's not the case right now, and that's sad to me because a lot of the people just, I'm sure, assumed that somebody was going to keep breaking the rules and they'd still be able to have a good time in New York. And I would be surprised if that's going on now. Maybe it is.
I mean,
I hope it is.
There are definitely, I know that we met a woman who was at the very least in Los Angeles throwing underground parties.
Nice.
So, I mean, I've heard stories of parties being busted in New York City. So there's definitely still things going on. But the problem is you got to know who to invite, because if you invite a snitch, then the cops come.
Right.
You get raided.
See, I still want to do my once a month strip club. that would be a fun thing. Once a month, have a stripper
girls
party.
actually?
Yeah, basically bring in a troupe of. So. Yeah, I ain't dancing. Nobody wants to see that. I mean, for one thing, I'm 50, and other than that, I mean, it looks like Riverdance of the Living Dead if I try.
Wow, I haven't heard a Riverdance joke in a while.
I would love to bring in a little gaggle of strippers and get some really bored guys to give them all of their money.
Oh yeah,
yeah. If they only had money to give, they got to be working.
Well, maybe they're getting super welfare benefits.
Could be. Yeah. So if you want to comment, join us here, 855-450 free like freedom. The prevalence, according to story at yahoo.com from the Los Angeles Times, of sleep troubles, lethargy, feelings of hopelessness, and other depression symptoms in adults across the country has more than tripled since the pandemic began, according to a new study. In the weeks after the outbreak prompted quarantines and stay-at-home orders, 27.8% of those surveyed had at least one symptom of depression. That compares to just 8.5% of the people back in 2017 and 2018. So that's a huge jump in the numbers of people saying they had at least one symptom of depression. And it's not just that the proportion of people experiencing signs of depression had increased by mid-April. The burden of those symptoms increased as well. After the pandemic caused a radical shift in daily life, there were, quote, fewer people with no symptoms and more people with more symptoms. They're, again, talking about depression symptoms here, according to the JAMA Network Open Journal. Quote, these findings serve as an alert to our attention to yet another impending public health crisis as a result of this pandemic, the increase in cases of major depression. Again, they love to blame the pandemic. Every time in the media, it's always because of the pandemic, because of the pandemic. No, it's because of the lockdowns.
Right.
Because we've had pandemics before, and everything went on as normal, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
With the exception of the few people who got sick, who people are getting sick anyway. And most people are surviving it.
Nobody I know is getting sick.
All these mask advocates, they have blood on their hands. All of these suicides, and it's going to get worse.
It's their fault.
It's their fault.
Yeah.
They won't feel sorry about it because at the end they'll be like, well, we saved just one life.
Yeah, but how many people
died? Yeah.
And when we brought that up months ago, they would just dismiss it. Oh, well, they made that choice. You don't choose COVID. 855-450 free like freedom. You can join us here. This is Free Talk Live.
Maxwell, he was scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, oh, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the grain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm. Free.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want. Just dial in toll free and take control of the airwaves here. Our number, 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms. They're over at discord.lrn.fm, so please connect to one of those. You'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. And tonight, that includes me, Ian.
Nobody.
And Tyler.
Now we're talking about the numbers that shouldn't be shocking to anyone here, and that is that depression symptoms are dramatically up amongst people in the United States, according to a new study finding that after the weeks, right after the quarantine and stay-at-home orders, at least 27.8% of those surveyed had at least one symptom of depression, and that's up compared to just 8.5% of people saying the same thing 2 years prior to that in 2018 and 3 years prior in 2017. So that's a dramatic increase, and people ought to be genuinely concerned about this. Mm-hmm. There's a good chance one of your loved ones is or you are going through some of these signs of depression. So if you want to comment, you're welcome to join us here. Also, I do want to let you know about Divvy. Now, this is one thing that was actually good about this year is from mid-March to mid-July of this year, Divvy, which is a newer, easy-to-use cryptocurrency we've promoted here on Free Talk Live, increased in value by over 10 times. Now, of course, Divvy could go up again in the future, and certainly that is the goal of the programmers and the folks promoting Divvy. But, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can't predict that, but we're pretty happy with our decision to hook up with Divvy 1 year ago here on Free Talk Live. You can go to divvyproject.org and begin earning Divvy by starting a masternode, or you can stake Divvy. There's even a lottery for those who are staking the coin as well. So go to learn more and get involved at the Divvy Project, divvyproject.org, D-I-V-I, project.org. As we continue here, Dr. Ruth Shim, expert on cultural psychology at UC Davis, quote, she wrote about the depression findings, quote, they serve to alert our attention to yet another impending public health crisis, the increase in cases of major depression.
I'm just glad our culture has found a psychologist because clearly it's gone mad.
Yeah, it's been pretty messed up for a long time, but it's going to get even worse. The team, led by a group of Boston University's School of Public Health, had good reasons to suspect the pandemic would take a toll on mental health. Do you think that maybe keeping people separated from others like they do in solitary confinement in prisons is actually going to be bad for them? Maybe that's why they do it to the people in solitary confinement, because it's a form of torture.
Mm-hmm. But you got to keep them separated. Down, down, down.
You can't even sing karaoke now. Nobody. There's not even.
I couldn't sing the karaoke before.
Yeah, but you did pretty good with Steel Panther.
I mean, I could try.
Yeah, it was fun, and that is gone. There are no more karaoke nights. At least not around here. Maybe somewhere they're happening, but not here.
If they had
we
told
need
me,
is
I
real
would
estate.
Yeah,
all this can be ours.
I would have been one of the ones that said that I was depressed when this whole thing kicked off, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of us felt that way. It was one of those things where, when it first started and it seemed really serious, it seemed like the world was ending. You weren't allowed to go anywhere. All of a sudden, the gyms closed. I stopped working out for 3 months. All I did was sit around. And once I had all my prepper gear set up, all I did was sit around and drink. I was just waiting for it to end. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we find out it's just all one big joke.
BS.
Yep.
Well,
I'm just imagining you poking America with a stick and saying, do a boogaloo,
Come
do
on.
a boogaloo.
Yeah. Where's the collapse? We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was not so much the depression about the collapse, but it was being bummed out about the obedience and how easily people, even here in the so-called live free or die state, seem to just slip right into this phase of total obedience and just doing whatever it is that they were told to do. And that, to me, was the hardest part about this. And it still continues to be a frustrating part. I don't want to blame an individual. That's not right. And that's why I was saying before, I won't say something to a person who's got a mask on. It's none of my business. You can wear what you want.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there are a lot of people out there that are doing it out of fear. They're wearing the mask, not from fear of COVID, but from fear of the government or fear of what their neighbors will think of them.
Or fear of getting lynched. Because, I've seen some bad-looking confrontations on the internet.
Yeah, but not here.
Not here. But, I would think a lot harder about wearing a mask if I was walking around New York City right now.
Mm-hmm. You mean not wearing a mask?
Yeah. I would consider wearing a mask because
that's the thing, wanting to fit in.
Right? Because I want to be fit in, and I don't want to fit into a box.
Yeah, and look, that's a legitimate concern. I'm not trying to deny that there are legitimate concerns that people have. That's why they're wearing the masks. But ultimately, the more people that do it, the worse the problem becomes.
Right.
Because it's impossible to discern at a glance who it is that's wearing the masks for reasons of fear of a virus versus reasons of fear of other things and social ostracization and things like that.
And also reasons of fear of your place of employment or your or your school. There was I went and I spoke. They had a rally scheduled on Tuesday at And I went out there to I wasn't going to go, but then they canceled it. So I decided if they canceled it, nobody should go. And so I went, and there were a bunch of people there anyway.
Good.
So that worked out well.
And you got to speak?
And I spoke.
Oh, great.
But there was it was actually a Carla thing mostly.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they cut me in. But one of the girls who hangs out at the Quill from time to time was there, and she was in bandit mode. And I'm like, what's up with that? Because I've never seen you do that before. And she said, well, if the teachers from my school see me anywhere without a mask, they'll kick me out and I'll lose my tuition. And she had paid that tuition
so she's
without
a student.
knowing these things. Yeah.
Oh.
And she paid that tuition without knowing these things were going to be done to her, but she can't get a refund, so she just has to hope she can get through a semester.
Now, are you dealing with that, Tyler? I mean, you're at Keene State College this semester, and you were there previously. You're doing an online class, so you're not expected on campus, but if they see you walking down Main Street with no mask on, is there punishment?
I don't think so. So I committed at the beginning. They had everyone sign a form saying you commit to these rules or you do not commit. And I just said, I'm not committing. So you have to make everything online. Like I not only would I not go on campus at all, but I can't. Like I can't go on campus for any reason because I didn't commit to those rules.
Wow.
Which I'm happy with because, the whole thing just seems like nonsense. But they're now making it mandatory. Like they're going to have entire days set aside, I think, tomorrow, or maybe it's next week, but everybody who does go on campus has to come in between this hour and this hour, and they all have to get tested. And they all had to get tested before they showed up anyway. So it's like they're just testing, and you're going to get a ton of false positives doing that. It's just a good excuse to close down the campus, which is, I think, what they want.
And are they going to? Because I've been advising people, because people are telling me that their schools, people in my congregation are saying, well, my school says they're going to be testing my daughter at school for the COVID. And I said, well, I would think very hard before I sent her there, because if she's going to get tested there, they might just spirit her away into quarantine, where you don't have an opportunity to talk to her or help her or even know where she is. So I would think real hard before I sent her to that school.
Well, it's like, I'm assuming they have to take your blood to do this test, right? So they're collecting your DNA. What are they doing with it afterwards, you think?
Are they blood tests? I thought they were swabs.
Are they swabs? Either way, they have your DNA.
Yeah, true. Good point. 855-450 free like freedom. If you want to join us, you can take control of the airwaves and bring up whatever's on your mind. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. U.S. Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Akon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel too. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Are you a sneezer? If you're not, can you get close to one? I don't literally mean someone sneezing. Sneezer, as defined by marketing guru Seth Godin, is an opinion leader. When a sneezer mentions something, other people catch what Godin calls the idea virus. Seth Godin says some people are more likely to tell their friends about a great new idea. So identifying and courting sneezers is a key success factor for idea merchants. His book, Unleashing the Idea Virus, is the most downloaded ebook in history, and you can download the whole book free. That's how he's making his idea contagious. Click Tips, Tricks, and other stuff to help you cut through the clutter at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live.
My law proposes this. You cannot say how a movie ends before it has gone through its HBO run. This is punishable by death because I am so sick and tired of people spoiling movies for me that I think we should hang them.
Maybe like movies is a capital crime and books is like a ticket.
Violation.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. Misdemeanor. Misdemeanor for a book. I'm with that. I'll let you slide on that one. Okay.
I don't actually have
so movie.
But on Netflix, they just put them all out there all at once, so it encourages more binge watching.
Right.
And it's just a kind of a different way to release things. So how do you deal with that with your proposed law, Dan?
Look, I'm American. I don't think about laws before I propose them.
So we gotta pass it to find out what's in it. Let the Supreme Court interpret it.
Exactly.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms. They're over at discord.lrn.fm, so enjoy those. Call in on them, and you will sound like you're sitting here in the studio with us. It's Ian, Nobody, and Tyler with you, and freedomsphoenix.com. It's a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the newest and freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty, then freedomsphoenix.com has them. And they've got a daily dispatch, which will come right into your email box with the latest on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com, freedomsphoenix.com. So, surprise, being forced to be alone is having a toll, taking a toll on people's mental health. Shocking. Other studies have documented upticks in depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental illnesses in the wake of traumatic events. For instance, after September 11, 2001 and the terrorist attacks there, researchers found that nearly 10% of Manhattanites had symptoms of depression, and 7.5% had signs of PTSD. So it sounds like it's way worse now. Because at least you could go out after somebody, took a couple buildings down. You didn't have to change everything. You didn't have to close all the restaurants. The highest risk seen in people who lived closest to ground zero, according to the New England Journal of Medicine study then. Another study at the time found the prevalence of PTSD, suicidal ideation, and other signs of mental illness increased after people or among people affected by Hurricane Katrina in the months after the storm and kept rising for at least a year after that. And again, these are all very isolated incidents that, yes, Katrina was a devastating hurricane, but only to the people of that one area. Now you've got a devastating event, the lockdowns, that are affecting almost everybody.
Yeah.
And so the amount of people who have had their lives touched in a really negative way by this crackdown, because that's what the problem is. It's the crackdown. It's important to keep reminding people of that, because what was it, 1968 or 69? There was a pandemic during Woodstock, I think it was, back then, that was basically unremarkable.
Imagine if they'd shut down Woodstock.
Would people have stood for it back then?
Probably not.
I would hope not.
I think the hippies would have done what they wanted to do.
You know, it's like it's too simple. I feel like I shouldn't have to say it. But if the government has to force these lockdowns onto people, then the virus can't be that bad. If it was bad enough, we wouldn't need any. Yeah, we wouldn't need any of it.
Hiding in the basement.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then it would be really hard to get food.
Yeah, and you know, we're lucky that they're not trying to include the suicides and the death toll, because that's what they do with guns, right? If you kill yourself with a gun, it's a crime statistic, you know, and they add that in.
COVID death.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had tried to do that.
Well, they may in some places, and here's why. Some places they're just automatically giving dead people a COVID test, and if they show up with antibodies, they died of COVID, even if they didn't.
Yeah, so ridiculous.
So anyway, there's a little bit more here, but basically it's what you expect, that people are having a tough time with this. If you want to comment, you're welcome to join us here. Our number 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And then they get into more detail on, you know, for instance, that in the age of COVID-19, the prevalence of moderate depression symptoms was 2.6 times higher than it was in 2017 and 2018. And the prevalence of severe symptoms is 7.5 times higher.
Whoa! I expected it to go the other way in magnitude. So really,
it's getting worse as it's getting worse.
Is much. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here. And the last statistic is particularly concerning because severe depression is linked with suicide risk.
Well, you know, it kind of makes sense. Think about it, right? Like at the beginning of this whole thing, you kind of, if you wanted to know how serious this was, you had to pay attention to the data. But now that you see everyone wearing masks and you've got all this plexiglass put up all over the place, it's just, there's just this intuition that it's horrible and it must be serious because everybody's doing it.
But of course, it tells you nothing about the actual severity of the thing because no matter how much plexiglass you see, are you seeing any sick people?
No.
Because if people aren't getting sick, who is?
Right. I don't know anyone personally who died from it, and I'm sure there are people that do, but I don't know anyone personally who died from it. And I know a couple people who caught it and nothing happened. They had the sniffles for a few days and they were on with their lives.
Out of 3,000 Facebook friends, I have encountered one person who was mourning a relative, a couple who claim to have known people who have gotten sick. But most everybody that I've talked to, do you know anybody who's sick? Nope.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. The friends I'm talking about are like friends I know, but like you would think if it was so bad, my Facebook would be blowing up with posts about pray for my grandmother, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
The death of a friend generally rates a post at least.
Right.
So we're not seeing any of this.
Nothing like that.
It's bizarre.
It is bizarre.
You want to comment? You're welcome to join us here. The number's 855-450-FREE. While something bizarre is going on, Burning Man was supposed to happen, right? Like this is the weekend for Burning Man. It's a week-long event. It usually culminates on Labor Day weekend. So we're right in around that time when Burning Man was supposed to happen. And it's a story that we've covered over the years on occasion here at Free Talk Live out of fascination for this thing that this city that is this temporary city that comes together for a 1 week time frame, and there's all this amazing artwork that is put on display. It's just absolutely stunning. I've never been to this thing, but you know, I've certainly studied some of the amazing photographs of the sculptures and the displays that they have out there, and I mean it is stunning in its level of excellence as far as the art that you can go and take in. I'm by no means like some sort of art aficionado or anything like that, but I appreciate a good psychedelic whatever thing some artist is going to put together, and they put some pretty wild stuff together at Burning Man, but not this year because Burning Man got canceled. It was canceled months ago. Wow! It was one of the first things to get canceled. You're surprised?
So these people are really turning into wussies.
Yeah, seriously. You're surprised that Burning Man got canceled?
I am surprised, but I mean, last I heard it was, there were like anarchists there. People.
Yeah, Burning Man's not counterculture anymore. It's super vogue. Right? Okay. Like all the rich yuppies from LA come out there.
That's true.
Well, that explains it because one of my friends, former former legislator from Keene, was posting something about how Burning Man had become this like playground for rich people, and I was thinking, Burning Man. Well, that explains it if they've wimped out.
It jumped the shark or whatever at some point. Yeah, the stories.
It sounds
were,
like the shark jumped it.
Well, the stories were about how the ultra rich, Hollywood elite or Silicon Valley elite would essentially helicopter in. And they had like air-conditioned trailers and like a really fancy place to live, washers, dryers, like servants, the whole nine, right? Yeah. Which is completely different than what the original design for the event was, which was a focus on radical self-reliance. Those are the terms that they use in Burning Man. And look, hey, there's nothing wrong if somebody wants to show up and party for a night and go home, whatever. I mean, I don't care. It's not my event. I don't feel one way strongly or another about it. But ultimately, it wasn't the Hollywood elite who were running the event, I don't think. It was a cool thing to do, so they showed up at it. But they are a bunch of leftists, for the most part, that run Burning Man. So it shouldn't be a surprise when all these radical self-reliant folks all of a sudden decide that they need to play it safe and follow all the rules, and we wouldn't want to put anyone at risk because nothing bad ever happens at Burning Man.
Well, what's funny is that they'd probably be better off because being out in that dry, desert air is probably good if you have COVID. You know what I mean? It's going to kill it. We've known that for a while. Yeah, sunlight. Yeah, sunlight and fresh air is good for you.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yep.
So there is a kind of again, this is one of the reasons why it's depressing is to look at these events that have been so successful. I mean, Burning Man started in, I believe, the mid-1980s. So it's been going on for decades. And it's just to have it just disappear. It's gone.
Yep.
This aggression must not stand. They're taking all the fun out of life.
That's what I'm saying. 2020 is the least fun year on record, I think, at this point. So much has been shut down, turned off, or in the case of Burning Man, moved online. Really?
They did an online camping festival.
Online Burning Man.
So they're completely out of their mind.
Scott Useum, founder of OMG Tax. Tell us how your company helps our listeners out there who have a problem with the IRS.
My team of lawyers, enrolled agents, and licensed tax experts remove wage garnishments, sometimes in the same day. We even have reduced the total debt some of our clients were required to pay through what is known as an offer in compromise.
Can you give us an example of somebody you help?
Oh, can I ever? We have taken a $500,000 liability with the IRS. Guess what? The client didn't pay a dime through the representation known as non-collectible status with the government.
If you owe the IRS more than $10,000 and you want to see if it's possible to pay a lot less, call OMG Tax right now for a free tax-saving consultation.
Call 800-486-8112. 800-486-8112. 800-486-8112. That's 800-486-8112.
Attention radio listeners, have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi. My name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want. Dial in toll-free here at 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Or call in on the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Tyler.
So I just happened to see this in the news here today. There's obviously a lot in the news to discuss, but you don't get to talk about Burning Man very often. It's usually once a year that it comes up, and sometimes it's worth discussing. There's, sometimes there's like a police crackdown on Burning Man, and we can talk about, knowing your rights. And it's really just a fascinating study in, this sort of temporary city that is created over a week's time and has as many as 70,000 people. Like, Burning Man is the size of Nashua, New Hampshire. I mean, it's the size of an actual city full of people. So, I mean, just from that aspect, it's an amazing thing. Even if you just ignore all the amazing artwork and the things that they have on display there, which is one of the points of going there, is that if you're there in person, and it takes quite a bit to get to this thing. It's in the middle of the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, in the middle of BF nowhere in Nevada. So it's a journey just to get to Burning Man, let alone, have to get all the stuff that you need to camp at Burning Man. And obviously there's different levels of what you can do. There's the ultra-rich Hollywood elite thing where you fly in on a helicopter and just go into an air-conditioned place and walk around whenever you feel like it. There's the group of campers that comes in an RV, and they got a little easier because they're in an RV. And then there's the ones that literally will set up a tent and have to deal with like crazy winds blowing their tent away, and you gotta like put rebar into the ground in order to I've researched what it takes to go to this. It is quite a big deal. Well, now it's over. At least it's over for this year, and that leads us to the conversation we were having a moment ago about like all the stuff that's being canceled. I remember when we first started hearing about COVID, we were going to go do a Washington, D.C. convention in early April. Mark and I were ready. We were going to drive down there. It was the Young Americans for Liberty. They were going to put this thing on. We'd never been to a Young Americans for Liberty event, so I was looking forward to it. I don't like going to D.C., but, it could have been fun. Got canceled a week before it was supposed to happen. And, of course, a lot of these things that are being canceled, whether it be Burning Man or some of these other events, they've said, SXSW, South by Southwest in Austin, huge sort of like tech music festival thing that happens every year. They canceled their thing. And, of course, a lot of these guys are saying, well, you can keep your ticket. We'll honor it in 2021. And so they're trying to keep their customers happy. We'll give you a refund if that's what you want, but if you're willing to keep the ticket, we'll have this in 2021. Well, what if they don't?
Right.
How many more years can they go kicking the can down the road before they're like, we don't have any money left. We can't afford to do 2022 if we don't do 2021.
Right. I mean, can they make it 1 year even? That would be my first question, because music festivals do not. These are not things you get rich off unless you do it like they did the one on the island down there where they fed them all bologna and cheese.
Fire Island.
But
yeah, that whole
what
thing.
was that called?
Fire Island, I think, or it was called the Fire Festival. That scam? Yeah.
FYRE.
Yep.
Yeah. So, these things don't make a lot of money. These things are usually labors of love.
That's
and
true.
you're happy if you can get it to pay for itself. So,
that doesn't leave you with a lot if everything gets canceled. I mean, I think that what you'll see happen is the hotel still wants the business, right? So if it was going to be like a convention in a hotel, they obviously would rather have the business this year, but they're not allowed to. So the hotel's probably allowing contracts to move another year out in the hopes that they'll get some business next year.
Right.
Well,
it's
but what if they don't?
Right. Like during the break, I was telling you about Ion out in Pennsylvania, Invasion of Normandy. It's the world's biggest paintball tournament. They canceled that this year. Yeah, I went once.
After how
it's
many
amazing.
years?
They've been doing it, I want to say, for like 16 years now.
Okay.
Maybe. I might be off. It might be 10. But yeah, it's a real bummer that they did that, and it makes you think, right? These guys, it's not
paintball.
It's paintball. You're out in the field. You're out in fresh
far
air.
away by definition from every other player.
And you have a right not to go if you don't want to take the risk.
And you're wearing a mask.
And you wear a mask
stupid.
when you play paintball. It's insane.
And I mean, I would imagine that you have veterans, relatively, people
Met a bunch of
who
them there,
aren't necessarily cowardly by nature.
Yep.
So
that would have loved
you'd
to
think
go
at
anyway.
least some of them would be
They're
down.
willing to get shot.
Well, and this
That's
is like
what these people are willing to do.
And this is like a family-owned establishment, and you got to think about these people because the aid that they're getting, it's not real aid, it's loans. Okay, it's debt. These people are gathering up debt, and so not only do you have these companies,
You talking about the federal loans?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of them are
Some of them are giveaways if they spend them correctly,
right?
according to the
stipulations.
terms.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting super low interest loans, which is
Right.
still debt regardless.
Yeah, that's a bad.
You
plan
factor in the fact that all these people next year are going to have way more debt. Then you factor in the fact that all this money that's being pumped into circulation from the government, from the Fed, that's all going to lead to inflation too. We're going to come back maybe next year, hopefully, but like if we, 2-3 years from now, the longer it goes, when we do come back, the price of everything is going to be higher. We're going to have to make up this lost year, and inflation's going to be out of control. And like the Federal Reserve's already trying to come up with new ways to measure inflation.
I just hope Mark is right, and these people who are predicting that it's all going to be over after the election. I really hope they're right.
I hope so.
It sure doesn't look that way. It's easy to get into a funk and think that that's going to just keep getting worse, but it seems like it's getting worse. I mean, again, you can go to a restaurant here in Keene, New Hampshire now. Okay, they're allowing that to happen. His Excellency has decided that can go on here, but there's now mask mandates. So it's better in some ways, but worse in other ways. I was actually just at Taco Biondo, one of the wonderful establishments here in New Hampshire.
Oh, they have such good tacos.
Yeah.
If you're here, try them.
Yeah, the burritos we're big fans of here too. But I was there waiting on my food to be made. It's no longer an indoor restaurant. It's takeout only, and it's been that way. Even though he can legally reopen indoors, he's doing fine with the takeout now. So
is he scared of the Rona or the government?
I haven't had a chance to really talk to him because he's inside and every now and then he comes out, but I'm busy doing something and he's like off running somewhere. So he says hello, but we haven't had a chance.
Curious because he didn't seem like a retiring guy. Or
no,
anything.
he's a younger guy. I think he's only in his mid 40s.
Yeah.
But anyway, as I'm sitting there in the parking lot, I'm listening as to just kind of on my laptop getting a little bit of work done, and I hear this cheery man in a mask walking through the parking lot talking to people. And at some point I overheard the conversation became clear because he got close enough to where I could hear it. And he was talking about how it sounds like he works at a local school, some government school. And he was all just ebullient about how excited he was that they're going to reopen and that they're cleaning everything and that he's spraying down this and that. And it's like he was really excited about how clean they're doing things. And every time he walked away from somebody, he would just say in this sort of chipper, cheerful manner, he would say, "Stay safe and stay healthy." And he sort of had this, he had this laugh where
Golly gee, kind of.
Yeah.
Now
right
I'm imagining Richard Simmons.
Yeah, very much like that. And except you couldn't see his face. because he had a mask on, and he was like the cheeriest guy and walking around just telling everybody to stay safe, and he's all excited about cleaning things, and it's just like this whole mentality. I just couldn't, as I was sitting, I was just shaking my head, just sitting there like, oh my God, this is really happening.
See, he'd get to me and he'd be like, "Stay safe," and I'd be like, "No, I live for danger."
That's right. Well, I was almost expecting him to come up because my car was like he was walking towards my car as he was walking away from this conversation. And I almost expected him to say it to me too, just because I was there and he seemed like this, effusive guy. Mm-hmm. And I was ready to say something because, like I said earlier, I won't say something to somebody with a mask on. It's none of my business.
Right.
But if you want to come up and say something to me like that, then you're going to get a response. And at that point, I would have said something like, safety's overrated.
Right. Stay free.
Stay free.
Stay weak.
Yeah.
Stay submissive.
So, yeah, that was... That's one of those things. It's one of those depressing things.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's doing it to cope with it. Like inside, he's like secretly crying, but he's like, I'm just trying to keep myself together.
Right, this is all I can do.
Yep. Oh, it's so sad.
Some people, when they go crazy, go through this really cheerful phase. I've seen that. I've seen that happen to people where it's just like, they're
fake level cheerful.
Yeah, like, and it's almost like you're listening to them being cheerful and thinking something's wrong with this.
We used
person. Because the couple of times I've seen it, it's been like they've just lost a major relationship or somebody died on them, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine."
Great.
And it's like, yeah, somebody just died on you 2 days ago.
That happened. Yeah.
Nothing is fine, and you're going to fall apart within days.
That happened a lot in the Navy.
Deal with that later.
Yeah, that happened a lot in the Navy. We always used to say false motivation is still motivation. But it's one of those things that when you get to that point, right before, it's like a phase, right before you go what we called going internal, where like you're just happy for nothing and you're just talking about how everything's miserable, but you do it with a smile on your face, and then all of a sudden you just don't talk to anybody for like 2 days. You know what I mean? It's like this weird kind of like, I can't control anything that's happening to me, so I'm just going to try and like will myself to be happy or something.
What sort of bizarre things have you seen out there, listener? You're welcome to comment on that or whatever's on your mind. How are people handling this or barely handling it? 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And are you going to the online Burning Man? We could talk about what that is coming up here in a moment.
And if so, why?
Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It can
can be part of an awakening. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That was the message Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden brought during a trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin this afternoon, where he met with residents. He also spoke with Jacob Blake, the black man shot and paralyzed after an encounter with police.
He talked about how nothing was going to defeat him, how whether he walked again or not, he was not going to give up.
The shooting is under investigation by the Wisconsin Department of Justice. President Trump was in Kenosha Tuesday, but did not meet with Blake's family. President Trump this hour at a campaign event in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, taking shots at Biden.
Biden will never be able to protect your jobs or your family. He is a puppet of the socialists, Marxists, and the cop-hating extremists, and they are cop-hating.
He also accused Biden of protecting what he called domestic terrorists and saying a Biden administration would take away people's guns, saying the Second Amendment would be obliterated. 7 Rochester, New York police officers involved in the death by suffocation of a black man they were trying to arrest have been suspended. Daniel Prude was running naked through the streets when police encountered him in March. They put a hood on him to keep him from spitting, then held him down for about 2 minutes, and he stopped breathing.
Racism is alive and well in every system in America. And the buck stops today with me here at City Hall.
Mayor Lovely Warren, who added, Mr. Daniel Prude was failed by police, our mental health care system, our society, and by her. The body cam video of the incident was released yesterday by Daniel Prude's family. They obtained it through a public records request. On Wall Street, the Dow lost 807 points, the NASDAQ off 598. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're unsure, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's Labor Day Savings Event right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through September 8th. Interior blinds, shades, shutters, even outdoor shades. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy payments through 9/17/2020.
As of March 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 25.49% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
A major U.S. city short on cash has declared a fiscal emergency.
The City Council of Los Angeles has voted to furlough more than 15,000 employees. They're also doing early retirement packages for nearly 1,300 workers. They say they hope the furlough, one unpaid day off every 2 weeks, will save more than $100 million this fiscal year.
So the furloughs apply to us as elected officials and to all civilian employees, including those who work in our office. So yes.
Mayor Eric Garcetti said it's important for them to lead by example. One LA City councilman voted against the furloughs, saying it would impact police and thus public safety. Mike Bonin said he wanted to see the police union delay scheduled bonuses and raises instead. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he won't allow restaurants in New York City to open for indoor dining until the city can put together a plan to monitor and ensure they're following regulations on how to prevent the spread of COVID-19. A student accused in the apparent hacking of online learning in one Florida school district.
More than 100,000 Miami-Dade County, Florida public school students couldn't log on for their virtual schooling as their term began this week. School officials said it was the result of a cyber attack. Now police and federal agents say it was all the work of a 16-year-old boy who attends one of the Miami area high schools. This minor is facing state charges and will likely face federal charges as well. Other problems with the district's online schools are being blamed on service providers and vendors. In Broward County, Florida, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Facebook trying to better police political misinformation. The company says it will restrict new political ads in the week before the election and remove posts that convey misinformation about COVID-19 and voting. It also says it will attach links with official results to posts by candidates and campaigns that may declare victory too early. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
An amateur sailor has announced his plans to sail around the world to decrease awareness of important global issues. 29-year-old Michael Gilmer will cover approximately 28,000 nautical miles over 3 months, all the while drawing attention away from famine afflicting several African nations, revolution in the Middle East, flooding in Thailand, and economic instability across 5 continents.
The goal here is to really make people think about a young, overconfident on an expensive boat, rather than the pressing matters of substance that actually affect people's lives.
As Gilmer set off on his journey Thursday, something was happening in Washington. In local news, a cute 8-year-old is beginning to realize how much better she is than ugly girls.
Since I'm cute and they're not, that means that they're not as good as me.
In other news, a slaughterhouse worker is told to stop naming them all. And sure, an area man can watch your cat while his life is falling apart, no problem. You have just participated in a large-scale psychological research study. Please fill out the attached liability waiver and send it to theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and we're kicking off the 3rd hour of this program. As always, you're invited to join us. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE like freedom. More about the online version of Burning Man, which sounds really lame right on its face, but we'll talk about that. This is a trend this year, is these events that have been canceled are trying to quote do something and have some sort of lame-o online component. We'll tell you more about it. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Tyler.
We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts, actually to the Discord lines, where, by the way, you can sound way better than if you call in on the phones, and that's what Gene, the Christian anarchist, has done. You can join the Discord over at discord.lrn.fm and sound this good. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, be safe and be healthy.
I don't want to be safe.
I like freedom and fun.
Yeah. Okay, so a little update on coronavirus in our office. We got, for the listeners that don't know, we have a medical office. We see quite a few patients. We're getting about 4, I would say, on average, positive tests per day.
Okay.
Really? That's way up from what you were telling us before, isn't it?
Right, it is up. But, I mean, we're doing way more testing than we were doing before. More tests going to give you more positives,
Yep, sure.
So,
do you know an average of how many
people,
tests you give a day?
I would have to guess about 10 or 15.
About 10, so that would be about 40%.
Yeah. So, but anyway, these people, most of them aren't very sick. We've had one employee. We have about 20 employees. We have had one employee that just came down with COVID about 2 weeks ago. She didn't even get it from the office. She was exposed to somebody in her private life that had been exposed to it, and then she came down with it. So of all of our people, we're seeing people with COVID positive all day long. Well, not all day, but, every day we see people that are testing positive. Yet our people aren't getting sick from it.
If somebody shows up with a disease, and this is a disease, as I recall, with a particularly long incubation period. So how can you say that this is where that person got that? How does that work?
Well, because she said that she knew somebody that knew someone that came down with her. So I don't know. That was her story.
So it's a guess.
Yeah,
I mean, if she works at your office, then she's coming into contact with COVID people all the time. So it would seem to be hard to discern whether it came from her loved one or it came from the person standing across the countertop from her.
See, that's what I was thinking. With 4 cases coming and going a day, it seemed...
But the point I'm getting at is all of our employees are not getting sick of this. In fact, we've had one, and that was a very extreme case. And she didn't get that sick. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even as bad as a bad case of the flu. So, but she's a younger gal. She's probably about 25, mid-20s. But the point I'm getting at is, even though we're seeing cases, we're not seeing serious injuries. Now, we do know of several people who have died, and supposedly they had COVID, according to the hospital, not according to us.
When you say these are your patients who went to the hospital instead of going to your clinic?
Yes, these are patients who have a history with us, but most of them went to the hospital and they were sick, and I have no idea how they were treated originally we were using the hydrochloroquine and it was zithromycin and zinc.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the FDA said, oh, no, you can't do that. And then we stopped doing that for a while. And my wife, who's the main doctor, she switched to basically any steroid plus any antibiotic. And people got better just with a steroid and antibiotic. Now they're putting out a new report saying steroid use seems to take care of, help a lot in treating this. And that makes sense because steroid reduces inflammation, and inflammation in the lungs is what causes the pneumonia. So it all makes sense. But what I'm getting at is it's not that bad. Yes, some older people get sick and die, and some people with comorbidities get sick and die. And that's a sad that's a sad tale. We don't want to poo-poo that. But the point is, most people aren't going to be that sick from it, and most people have a greater chance of dying from just about anything else other than COVID.
Of your patients who've come down with it, how many of them have died from it?
I'm going to guess because I don't have the exact number, but I would say no more than 5.
And this is out of how many total testing positive, would you say?
Couple hundred.
Okay.
I suppose. And,
so it's a higher rate at your office than it is among, the average population.
Yeah,
Sounds
but
like.
see, the most of those we didn't even know they were sick. They went to the hospital and died there.
Mm-hmm.
The point I was getting at with the azithromycin is that, and the hydrochloroquine is that, for a while the FDA was saying you can't treat with that, and that really seems to be a very good treatment for this disease, but they said you can't do it. So
that's really
I don't
suspicious.
Well,
so I don't know if those,
and
it's really suspicious because doctors have always, I'm going to stress always, had the ability to write a prescription off label.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it's in the doctor's purview to use a drug to treat somebody for something that is not on the label for that drug. It's always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's between the doctor and the patient. But then for this one particular disease, the FDA decided to say, oh, no, you can't do that, or you might lose your license. And I don't know if you remember this black doctor that got up there in Washington, D.C. and made a very, very passionate presentation about how she has treated a lot of people with hydrochloroquine. None of them ever died, which is why I'm wondering about the patients of ours who went to the hospital.
And
Did
what
they
was
get
the
that or
treatment?
not?
Yeah.
If they didn't get it and they died, maybe their life could have been saved had they gotten it. But this lady, she lives in Texas, that doctor, and of course, after she came out and did that, and it was all over YouTube, and then YouTube took it down because these doctors were telling you that, you could be treated and don't wear a mask and that kind of stuff. So YouTube didn't like that. But she had a complaint filed against her with the board there in Texas, the medical board. But after review, the medical board said, no, she did nothing wrong. And they said, no problem. So at least the board came back and said, that she didn't do anything wrong. So these Karens and these whiners who are reporting doctors because they're prescribing medicines that for some reason a Karen seems to think they know more than a doctor, and they're complaining to that a doctor is prescribing that. At least the medical board in Texas, at least, is saying that no, that's within the purview of the doctor-patient relationship.
Okay.
So,
now, I got a couple questions for you on hydrochloroquine. I have not found it available on the dark web. So how hard is this stuff to get? Is there a veterinary use for it? Or is there any way to get it? And the other one,
you mean like without a prescription?
Yeah. Like I don't have a prescription, and I suspect I may never get a prescription. But I would love to have 10 doses around the house, just or 10 courses, really, not doses. Just so if people do start suddenly getting sick here, I would love to have something for them.
Probably the two main uses that it's most commonly used for are lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. So if you had a pet, I suppose, with rheumatoid arthritis, you could get a prescription for it for your pet, or get, I don't know how pets work. Do they need a prescription or not, or you just buy it from
There are prescriptions for some things.
I may know a few people
I think
that
opiates for pets, you're going to need a prescription.
Yeah, I may know a few people who got hydrochloroquine from India and just had it shipped to them.
Really?
So there's ways to do that. I don't know how, but there's
these are
ways.
like online pharmacies?
If any of
Right.
them have a phone number or a URL, I'd love that.
Maybe we'll talk offline.
All right. Thank you, Gene, for your call tonight. Always appreciate hearing from you. The story from inside a doctor's office there in Tennessee. Gene is the sort of the manager of that office, so he sees a lot. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us here, you can also join us online over at freetalklive.com. 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com. News from news.bitcoin.com. U.S. Postal Service files a patent for new blockchain voting method. Warren Buffett changes his opinion on gold. Maybe Bitcoin is next. $6 billion Acon cryptocurrency city underway. Former Prudential CEO says now's the time to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to Bitcoin.com's YouTube channel too.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free.
Free Talk Live. You can dial in, toll free, bring up anything. The toll free number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. Time to go learn about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. It's a good time to do that now because, well, it's been a whole decade now. And if you've been putting it off and you've been thinking about learning about Bitcoin, well, now's the best time to do it because, well, you might have a little more time on your hands. And the fact is people are interested in alternative forms of money now, especially what with the price of gold on the way up, the price of Bitcoin on the way up. It's going to catch a lot of people's interest. So don't be left behind. Go and take the time out and learn a little bit about it at Bitcoin.com. They got a nice getting started section there that can get you started on your road to learning more about cryptocurrency and getting involved with it. And if you're not new to crypto, then you can also read their news section. They got a lot of the latest headlines from around the planet in the world of cryptocurrency at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com. In the news this week, Burning Man is back. But not really. They're online. They canceled Burning Man this year for real life. And for those that don't know, it's a massive arts and music festival that gathers together. It's been gathering for the last 30 plus years, 35 years or something like that in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada. I mean, it's not by any means a libertarian festival or anything like that. It seems to be pretty lefty influenced, although certainly it has its share of libertarian attendees or voluntarist or anarchist attendees. But
I don't understand how liberals do things like Burning Man because they seem so scared of everything. It seems like, they just go and like want to wrap themselves in bubble wrap or something.
Well, those are the ones that I don't think would attend Burning Man. I mean, there are some very self-reliant people out there that might consider themselves on the left. I mean, you get the Rainbow Family, for instance, that goes around.
They've got stones.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, too. So this is like a big rainbow gathering, basically, except with way better art. I mean, not that I've ever been to rainbow gatherings either, but I've heard about them. And
I've been to a regional, but I've never been to a national.
Yeah, you don't see massive sculptures, crazy level kind of $100,000 art expos at Rainbow Festivals.
You don't see $100,000 anything at a Rainbow Festival.
Right. They spend a lot of money on some of these art installations at Burning Man. It's pretty impressive stuff, but not this year. Because now it's gone online. According to the story over at, let's see, this is dnyuz.com. Not the easiest to roll off the tongue there. I don't know what it stands for. But everything about Black Rock City, which is the name of the makeshift town where Burning Man takes place, removes you from your ordinary frame of reference and puts you into the playa, an ancient lake bed that is as much of a state of mind as a physical setting. You're camping out with over 70,000 others in the austere Nevada desert. You are self-governing according to a code of 10 principles. And that's an interesting thing on its own to look at.
Yeah.
Because one of their principles is no money. Because, again, it's a pretty hard left festival. And so if you come there and you try to sell things, it will not go over well, from what I'm told.
But you can barter?
You can trade things, but they expect a gift economy. They expect people to come and just simply give everything away, is what the commies call it.
No capitalism.
Yeah.
None of that. None of that nonsense.
See, Rainbow's
similar, right?
I mean, they would love it if you gave things away and just hoped somebody would give you a gift. But the thing is, people aren't rich enough there to really expect them to do that. So most things are trade. People might bring one thing to give away, but yeah, that would be awkward. But do you have any idea how they feel about? Well, I guess if they're really encouraging people to do a gift economy, then they're not going to want you to be trading in silver or anything like that.
I don't think so.
Because I seem to have decent luck with silver out there. There are a lot of people who seem to want it.
You mean out there, not at Burning Man?
Yes, not out there, but at the Nerf Rainbow Gathering.
You have the freedom, they say. So we're not going to get into their 10 principles, but they do mention that one here in the article, the no cash. so-called gift economy. Anyway, you have the freedom, they say, even the expectation to do almost anything imaginable. Heat stroke is a constant threat, and blinding dust storms blow up without warning, which is why they have to put their tents down with rebar into the earth. Otherwise, they'll
that's
just
just natural. They don't have to bring in any technology to make that happen. The dust storms.
Yeah.
It's not a trap or so. Okay.
Unlike, it's a very hellish climate. I mean, it is not a place that's meant to support life, which is why it's an interesting place to have this thing.
Right.
Unlike in the real world, the default world in burner parlance, the first impulse in Black Rock City is for strangers to help one another. This has given rise to a faith in playa magic, another burner term for the confidence that whatever you seek, whether it's a romantic partner or a can opener, will appear when least expected and most needed. But can there be playa magic without a playa? Can something experienced via computer screen, cell phone, or VR headset ever be life-changing? In perhaps the ultimate test of whether the internet can satisfyingly replicate the real world, it can't. Burning Man has gone online this year. The notion isn't as much of a mismatch as it might seem. Larry Harvey, who helped start Burning Man on a San Francisco beach in 1986 and was its guiding luminary until his death in 2018, saw himself as a social engineer. He envisioned a landscape of limitless possibility where people could, at least temporarily, liberate themselves from the numbing confines of commodified art, entertainment, and even lifestyle. What has more limitless possibility, in theory anyway, than the internet? Indeed, a community famous for innovation and deeply endowed with tech wizardry, Elon Musk famously said Burning Man is Silicon Valley, adapted to the pandemic by creating a virtual Burning Man known as the Multiverse. The week-long assemblage of 8 digital platforms, which anyone can view for free, went live at 12:01 in the morning on the last Monday in August, the traditional time that Black Rock City opens its gates with a burst of fireworks. The multiverse maintains much of the energy, abundance, and wonder of the real thing. One's cursor wanders along detailed renditions of Black Rock City that for anyone who has been there are eerily familiar. The layout of the camps, the signature structures, and the cracked desert floor. Hover over an icon on the screen and the avatar of a burner appears, playing music that he or she programmed. Digital art pieces installed by burners surface when you click on painted flags. Visitors move through the temple, an island of spiritual contemplation in the playa's cacophony, by connecting glowing colored orbs into meditative patterns. You can attend workshops, which often include chat rooms for serendipitous encounters.
Wow.
But good luck actually meeting and connecting with another human being.
How are you going to have a serendipitous encounter over the internet?
The internet? Yeah.
Burning Man's
sanitary.
like a microcosm of this weird leftist like contradiction where they think that they're anti-establishment, but it's no longer Rage Against the Machines, it's Rage on behalf of the machine.
Yes.
Antifa and BLM and all this stuff, that's all being supported by political parties, well, the Democrats and maybe the Green Party, I don't know. But Burning Man's the same thing. It's full of a bunch of yuppies from LA, and there's nothing, especially now, I feel like the guy who probably started it would be turning in his grave if he realized that they just gave into this establishment nonsense.
Well, part of the problem with Burning Man has been that they've given into the establishment as of a long time ago. So one of the biggest critiques that I have of the event is that they have it on government land. So they have to get into an agreement with the Bureau of Land Management every year, and that has included all kinds of ridiculousness. One of the stories we covered over the years was how the BLM bureaucrats also, are guaranteed a sweet place to stay at Burning Man, and the washers and the dryers and the chefs and the the catering and all this stuff, and that's all going to be covered by the Burning Man ticket costs and ridiculous stuff. More coming up.
Well,
Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And, you know, I've seen some pretty impressive digital artwork over the years. I've seen some, you know, mind-bogglingly beautifully detailed art that's out there, whether it be photography that was taken and modified in some way with Photoshop or whatever digital wizardry were put into it, the filters and such. Some people have put it some real time into creating some wonderful stuff. Tyler, you and I, we play an occasional game here and there online. And, you know, games are a form of artwork on their own. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely a lot to be appreciated in the realm of digital art. But it's not quite the same thing as being in real life and appreciating somebody's sculpture or other creation or buttocks. Or there you go.
I mean, I'd be looking for a girl, and you're not going to find one in that computer. There's none in there. I've looked.
The ones that look like girls probably aren't. So we were looking at the Burning Man website, which is this year they're doing it online. This is over at burningman.org. The website here offers apparently as many as 8 different so-called experiences. The first 2 that we clicked on looked like there was a lot of setup to get involved in. So like one of these is in BRC VR, which stands for Black Rock City virtual reality. So you got to download a program, and you got to get it set up. And there's some hoop jumping. Of course, now there's some hoop jumping to go to the real Burning Man, right? Like you got to put a team of friends together, and you got to pack all your stuff and drive across the country. Or if you live in Nevada, just drive a few hours. But for most people, there's a lot of work to actually get to the event. So maybe that's not so bad. So we haven't really had a chance to.
But the thing is, once you get there, you're actually there.
You're there, and you're surrounded by 70,000 people, and there's just nothing like I wouldn't want to go to the Porcupine Freedom Festival VR experience.
Right. I
wouldn't want to go to Forkfest VR because we can go into a chat room any old time.
Right.
Okay, if I want to go into a chat room with our listeners, we can go to our Discord server. There's a chat room there any time of the day, 24 hours day or night. Sure. Listeners of ours used to have a Second Life room where they hung out. It may still exist. I don't know. Second Life is this online VR thing that's been around since before VR existed, basically. It was 2005 or something like that, I think, when we first heard about that. And in 2005 it was a novelty. Oh, look, you can build a thing in this VR world, and people can come in and they can have little chats instead of chatting in all text. You have a little character that you can put clothes on or whatever, right?
Or take clothes off.
Or take clothes off. But again, still not the same experience as doing it in real life.
No, not at all.
I imagine a lot of people get to Burning Man and immediately seek out drugs. So right off the bat, if you're at home, yeah, well, it's a festival. That's kind of what people do at festivals. So it's like, are you going to be dropping acid in your living room in front of your desktop so you can check out this art that's going to make you? Well, yeah, I mean, sure.
There are worse ways to spend
people
time.
have, but I'm talking about the 17,000 people that go to Burning Man. A lot of them are just, they're normies out there. That's their one time of the year. They're going to go out and let loose. They don't know a drug dealer in their neighborhood.
But there's one real nearby if you're in Burning Man.
Yeah, of course. Everybody,
Well, and that's just it. If you're on LSD or mushrooms or some other psychedelic substance, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt there's some cool stuff you can look at online while on those substances. I'm not downing that at all, but it's not the same as a real life light show. A laser light show, you cannot experience that online.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There's certain things that are completely amazing and awesome, and they have no online representation.
Yeah.
Now, how about these VR goggles? Do they do anything these days? I mean,
they're pretty
they were
great.
useless
They
back
are pretty
in the
intense.
day, but they are useful.
They've
now.
gotten very good.
They have gotten really good.
And
they're getting better. So
Could you see a laser light show in them, or?
I don't think it would.
I mean, I guess you kind of are seeing a laser light show just by putting them on, but
maybe it could get that good at some point, but I don't think it would have the same feel. But then again, that said, they've gotten very good.
Yeah.
Now, the last time I tried a pair, I think was probably close to 2 years ago now.
Same for me.
Maybe about a year and a half. It was the Oculus Rift.
Yep, that's the one I tried.
And I guess it was the original one because it had a cord on it or whatever. So probably Generation 1 model of that.
Right.
It was Derek J. and Steven. They were throwing a party, and they had purchased one of these things, and it was just sort of over in the corner, and occasionally somebody'd put it on, and they'd be doing something in there. So prior to that, I'd only tried the Google Cardboard VR thing.
Yeah, the real novelty one.
Yeah, it was just a gimmick. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But the Oculus was pretty cool. Like, it's good. I mean, it's worth a try. If you've never tried it before.
Rift.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say about it that I thought was pretty interesting is there's got to be some kind of property of diminishing returns, because the first time I tried it, I used it probably for 3 hours, and it felt like 20 minutes had gone by.
Really?
And I was desperate to keep going. I wanted to do more of it, right?
Wow.
I was like, this is amazing. This is so much fun, and all the different games I was trying. I came back a couple days later, tried it again. That was not my experience the second time.
Really?
The second time you put it on, you go, oh, right,
Oh,
okay,
I'm
I know
here
what this
again.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And it's like, oh, okay, now we're just back doing this again. And it's like, it
I
loses
think
its...
I think at that point you have to have new software to keep amping it up or to keep bringing you new experiences in that. And there's definitely some serious limitations to it. So like most of the games, you're just sort of standing still doing a thing. So like bugs will come at you from one way or another way, and you got to turn around. Or there's enemies that are shooting at you from different sides or whatever. So there's immersing yourself is easy in that it looks great and it sounds great and it feels right. The motion capture and all that is very good, but there's only so much you can do standing in one place. Now, there are games that allow you to move around, but it seems like it's kind of awkward. That I have not actually tried. The ones that I was playing, you don't have to move around in, but when I see people playing like online games like Skyrim, which are these very large games designed for computers that they've sort of shoehorned in to these platforms, they still have to use a controller in some way to like move themselves, or they sort of jump ahead in space and they don't like actually walk from point A to point B. It just sort of warps there from point A. So like there's different ways that they're trying to experiment with making this possible, because you can't keep walking in your living room.
Right, you'll hit the wall.
You're going to hit something.
Yeah.
So there's some challenges that they have to kind of engineer around, and they haven't done that yet.
So Skyrim is a game.
It's a game.
I
It's
always
very
thought it was
popular.
like the third level of the Mile High Club.
That's a good one. Oh,
So we're talking about this online Burning Man here, and they say in this review from dnyuz.com, what's missing from the online Burning Man are adequate simulations of the vulnerability, discomfort, and gratitude so central to Burning Man's existential qualities. Those fabled personal transformations typically arise from reappraisals of the self-image you brought to Black Rock City. You discover more creativity, self-reliance, flexibility, generosity, even love than you thought you possessed, or less. The playa adage goes, quote, "You don't always get the burn you want, but you always get the burn you need." Meaning that the experience that you have at an event like this is going to be life-changing, but it may not have been in the way that you intended for it to be.
I wonder if that includes the guy who walked into the fire that year. Did he get the burn he needed?
That sounds like a cop-out slogan. Is it what you wanted? No. Nah, but it's kind of what you needed, though, right? And he's like, no, I still didn't enjoy myself.
But if you try
He
sometimes, it just might find.
Black Rock City continually serves up opportunities to examine one's internal guidance system. The multiverse, which is their online version, doesn't offer this kind of introspection. There's no app that replicates the dread of loneliness or the relief of forgiveness, familiar emotions at Burning Man. Which isn't to say that it won't happen someday, and artificial reality as artificial reality techniques advance, as the psychodynamics of cyberspace become more sophisticated in integrating with the brain with virtual technology, it may one day be possible to elicit feelings associated with the self-governance, communal trust, gifting, and fun that make Burning Man such a singular experience. And I think they're right. We may be getting there. In fact, there was something else in the news this week. Elon Musk has announced that they now have like some sort of a brain computer implant. Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah, he's been working on that.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. My professional opinion is this is a bad plan.
Well, they apparently have already put it into a pig.
Oh.
So
he can have it.
Proof of concept. And we'll tell you a little bit more here. These online experiences, are they even worth your time? Have you found one that's really wowed you in these virtual experiences? 855-450 free. I have not seen anything that's been like, ooh, I got to be there. Nah, it's Free Talk Live.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
With a MECTEC carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MECTEC is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit. More compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MECTEC is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We're tuning in here to the online version of the Black Rock Desert over at Burning Man 2020. It was canceled. And so you have to, if you want to do anything Burning Man related, you've got to go online now. And of course, there's a bunch of different options that have been put up on their website at burningman.org. The multiverse is what they're calling it. I was just clicking on what they're calling the Infinite Playa. And of course, the playa is the arid desert land where they normally hold the real life event. This year it is online, and I did find one that is, at least showing some kind of trippy looking visuals here. I presume there's some music to go along with it. So there you go. There it is. There's your music from one of the streaming channels that's on the Burning Man website.
Ian, do you remember when back in the 90s, like Kellogg's and stuff, they would give out these CD-ROM games with cereal?
Yes.
And like everyone was excited about it, and then you tried it, and they were just like the worst games, and you're like, oh, I know why this is free. That's what this is for Burning Man.
Oh, sorry, nobody try that.
It kind of looks like that to me. I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad. I mean,
but
I'm not going to sit here and watch this for a long time. Though.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a lot of effort to see that happen because I've been seeing weird graphics on the internet for
a long
decades,
time. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't breaking any new ground in that way, right?
No.
Yeah, if anything, you're
I wish I knew somebody who'd gone to Burning Man and who was going to do this and find out if they got that, burning sensation they were looking for.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
No, I feel like this is just like this might draw in some introverts who wouldn't have gone anyway, but they might check it out now. But like the people that were going to go, they don't want to do this as their alternative.
Yeah, they want to be with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Their
Like
goal was to be
place.
outside. Yeah.
This isn't doing a thing. This doesn't. I mean, there's something here that involves virtual reality, and I'm sure you can go to a fake desert environment where people, dress their little avatar in whatever clothes they want, and they have whatever conversations they have. But it's not even it's like recording as I was talking about the fireworks at Fork Fest this year. They had a great fireworks show that lasted for almost I think it was like 40 minutes long.
Nice.
And it was fantastic. And the video is a shadow of what the actual performance was.
Right.
Because that cannot be captured in any meaningful way.
Yeah, you got to have a good camera.
Did you actually watch the video?
Yeah.
I've never done that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing straight through, but I mean, I watched enough parts of it to know that I gotten the recording okay and put it online. And, but it's it's just shadow. It's a facsimile of reality.
Yeah, public service announcement. If you're taking video of fireworks, don't post it to Facebook because nobody wants to watch it.
Yeah, most no one wants.
Yeah, unless you've got a really nice camera. But even then, like videos of fireworks that are supposed to look good, I'm not watching those for more than a few seconds.
Yeah, it's certainly not worth watching for 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I recorded it because I told the guy I was going to do it. Like the guy who was putting on the show had never had someone actually record his entire show before.
Oh.
And, if you're busy putting the show on, then you might not be able to really appreciate what you're creating for somebody.
Yeah.
So he called me and said thanks. So
that's cool.
That was nice.
Yeah.
And it does give you, again, a shred, a little scintilla of what the actual time that we had was like, in the hopes of telling someone, hey, you should be there for the real thing.
Right.
You should come to this real life event and do the real thing. They point out here in the wrap up on this piece, again talking about the online Burning Man, that the event's influence has been wide reaching over these decades. It's seeded dozens of comparable events around the world because they have like these local burner events during the year, and served as a model for a range of endeavors from emergency relief to urban development. Whether the multiverse, which is their online version this year, is a one-off or a new branch in Burning Man's evolutionary tree, its implications are destined to reach beyond the virtual confines of Black Rock City. Educators developing distance learning platforms, for example, or human relations specialists fashioning corporate culture from a labor force of teleworkers would be well advised to log in to see how computer simulation can facilitate social bonding. Can it?
No.
I mean, I saw absolutely no evidence of any other person or avatar of a person in there, so I don't have any.
There's probably some.
Guess.
There's probably some people in their VR thing.
There has to be a way to come in contact with other people from what they're saying in some virtual way, but I don't think you can bond through a computer without. I mean, I would think you would have to have like VR that makes you think you are there.
And we're gonna get there. I suspect that's gonna happen in our lifetime, that VR will be so persuasive that it will be hard to tell the difference. In fact, I do remember a really interesting story, and I forget who told it to me. I don't know if it was one of our listeners, but it was really fascinating that somebody put on one of these VR headsets, one of the early models from the last several years, and that they had, I don't know if it was a computer simulation or if it was video. I think it was a simulation. But either way, they said that it felt so real to them. And the simulation was of being on a beach. And that they felt, it felt so real to them that they thought they could feel the wind in their hair.
Oh, wow.
And so when your senses are tricked to such an extent that you actually believe it, your mind fills in the gaps. At least that's what they were saying.
Right.
Happens.
And there was no hardware to explain this. She wasn't. It wasn't like
just the
filming
goggles.
a windy movie scene.
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
just the goggles, just the
Wow.
visual and audio stimulation that she was getting or he was getting from that experience. So I thought that was interesting.
You can get vertigo in VR if you're standing on the edge of a cliff or something. Like I've considered getting it just to do flight simulators because that's probably a cool reason to do it. You can sit on your couch, do that.
Sure.
But Yeah, it's crazy, but it's not enough.
Yeah, these days, though, meeting people online, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sure there are some people, and I don't want to detract from them, who, like, they get into a video game and they have their little clan of people that they meet up with, and they meet up with the same people over a series of years. And maybe they do, like, go to a conference in real life, back in the day, and they meet this person for the first time. And like, oh, you're so-and-so. We play this game together. I know those things happen out there, so I don't want to try to say that it's impossible. But I don't think it's the same. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say I've never formed an emotional bond with somebody online because I mean it's not impossible. It's kind of like doing it by letter or something. But I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of bonding you're thinking about.
Yeah.
It seems I don't think you're going to be able to do it past the level that you can do it with text.
I agree with you there.
Well, even beyond bonding, it's like you can't party in VR. Woo! Like, I can't imagine just sitting in front of your computer drunk, and just doing drugs and being like, isn't this amazing, guys? I'm so happy we're Burning Man. Like, someone's at the door. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's the pizza guy.
Yeah.
And half the time, if I drop some acid or something, I'm not going to be able to operate it.
Right. You're not even on your computer. You're staring at something in your living room.
You can't get to where you wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time sitting and I'm listening to the 5th time through Jim Morrison and American Prayer, which is a great album the first 4 times. And Wendy or my girl is like, don't you want to change the music? And I'm like, yes, I do, but I don't know how.
Yeah,
too funny.
I mean, for instance, and look, we've certainly talked about responsible drug use, so I'll put my typical warning out there. If you want to learn about this stuff, please go to erowid.org. It's EROWID.org, and do research before you get into purchasing or using drugs. But if you get real MDMA, one of the side effects of that is you get what they call eye wiggles. And so if you're on real MDMA, you're going to have those. And if you try to look at your phone or any kind of screen while this is going on, you cannot focus on what is going on that screen. You have to close one eye. There is a trick. You have to close one eye, and then the one eye can actually focus on the thing that you're looking at. But you can't do anything. You can't do that for a long period of time. It's enough to like check your email or something if you're at a party or something like that, and then you want to put your phone. You do not want to be on an electronic device.
That's what I was thinking. Who wants to check their email when they're on E?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely not a girl in there.
But yeah, you can't handle it. It's just not, that experience doesn't mix with the other experience very well in certain instances. So anyway, they talk about this so-called multiverse and how obviously VR is going to get better. But I got to say, I expect that this online version of Burning Man is going to be a huge disappointment for people. I mean, but please, why would you get your hopes up in the first place for an online Burning Man?
Yeah, this sounds like they're just trying to do anything.
And again, how much of this stuff is going to come back? What percentage of the events that we saw canceled for 2020 are actually going to come back in 21? Even if they're allowed to, because that's going to be the other question: is how many cities will even allow events to resume? And of those that do, how many will come back?
So what do you think? Is this going to be a multi-year thing, you think? Is this going to be is there going to be like a year 2 of 2 weeks to flatten the curve?
I don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not, but I mean, they're getting away with this, so I think they're going to keep pushing. I would love to be wrong. We'll see you tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Stay free, guys.
Yeah, great suggestion.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Predicting victory. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump with a campaign stop this evening in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh, accusing opponent Joe Biden of flip-flopping on policy to gain support.
He's trying to change now. You know, he's saying that's not working because we're going up and he's dropping like a rock in water.
The president also doubled down on comments he made yesterday saying people should sign their mail-in ballot, then, as he put it, follow it by going to your polling place and making sure it's tabulated, but saying if it shows you've already voted, they will make sure it's not tabulated. Biden spent the time this afternoon in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where he met with the family of Jacob Blake, and he spoke with him.
I had an opportunity to spend some time with Jacob on the phone. He's out of ICU.
Biden said Blake talked about how nothing was going to defeat him, and whether or not he walked again, he was not going to give up. Blake was shot 7 times in the back during an encounter with police. The mayor of New York's third largest city taking action against officers after the death of a black man while in custody.
Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren says against the advice of counsel, she is suspending 7 officers involved in the March 23rd death of Daniel Prude.
I understand that the union may sue the city for this. They shall feel free to do so.
Warren says the police chief told her he died of an overdose. She didn't find out what really happened until August 4th. Prude's family had called police to their house where he was visiting. They said he was having a mental health episode. Officers pinned him to the ground after putting a hood over his head to keep him from spitting. His body went limp after being pinned for several minutes, though. He was taken off of life support 7 days later. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Setbacks in Kanye West's presidential bid. A judge has barred him from appearing on the ballot in Arizona this November. He's also been removed from the ballot in Virginia. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're unsure, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's Labor Day Savings Event right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through September 8th. Interior blinds, shades, shutters, even outdoor shades. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy Payments through 9/17/2020.
As of March 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 25.49% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo saying now is not the time for indoor dining to resume in New York City.
We now open restaurants. That's going to complicate by the hundreds, if not thousands, the number of establishments that have to be monitored. How is that going to happen? I don't have any more state resources to do it.
He says restaurants will be able to open once the city has a plan in place to monitor and ensure they're following regulations on how to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Facebook pledging to support a safe and reliable election this November.
Facebook is stepping up efforts to combat disinformation ahead of the 2020 election, including putting a stop to political ads. In a letter to employees, founder Mark Zuckerberg said the social media giant will not accept political ads in the week before the election, will remove posts that make untrue claims that people will get COVID-19 if they vote, will flag any posts that make false claims about voting, like saying lawful ways of voting will lead to fraud, and will also not let any candidate declare victory before the final results are in. Zuckerberg noted in his letter that Facebook has a, quote, responsibility to protect our democracy, and he's worried that our nation is so divided that a delay in election results could lead to civil unrest. Brett Larson, Fox News.
Korean automakers Hyundai and Kia recalling over 591,000 vehicles in the U.S. to fix a brake fluid leak that could cause engine fires. The recalls cover more than 440,000 Kia Optima midsize sedans from 2013 through 2015 and Kia Sorento SUVs from 2014 and 2015. Also covered 151,000 Hyundai Santa Fe SUVs from 2013 to 2015. Wall Street, the Dow lost 807 points. The Nasdaq lost 598. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
I'd like to tell you about our newest innovations in helping to keep our communities safe. Problem Creation Policing. Problem Creation Policing, or PCP, is a way to get the entire community involved in maintaining a safe neighborhood. This is more than just a neighborhood watch. We plan to have officers on the ground, helping, aiding, and surveilling for illicit activities. You never know when you're going to find some young punk doing something illegal out in public. That's why we're going to have officers everywhere. You never know when they're going to pop up. So we want PCP in our homes, at our jobs, and in our schools. We want PCP everywhere. How can you get involved in PCP? Well, for starters, you can call your local authorities and ask them how you can get PCP. I'm Byron Kingsley from the Citizens Respecting the Authority of Police.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Let us make them remember. We are not afraid!
Unafeared. Here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. Here in, again, I got to ask Donna, where the heck are we? Birch Run. It's kind of west of Flint, Michigan. You know, I've been to Flint, Michigan in the early 80s. And I used to I was a manager for Domino's Pizza back in the day. That's where I met Donna. She was a student at Penn State, and we had friends that had a couple stores there while we were opening one in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. A franchisee, a friend of mine that, had a franchise, and you work for a year as general manager, you get qualified as a franchisee, and then you go get a store. Well, I wanted Cortland, New York, and somebody in the office wanted that, and I couldn't. They said, well, Ernie, we'll do you a solid and everything. You can have Flint. There was a store here that, was a company store they wanted to go franchise, and that was me. I went, and I'm like, hell no. Flint, Michigan, you had to pay $3,500 a month for a security guard to go with to deliver some of the projects. And I go, and I was well known for when dorms or frats or whatever be a pain, I just turned them off. And I go, Domino's Pizza, sorry, we don't deliver Carnarvon Hall. I mean, I'd answer the phone like that. And what? I'm in Carnarvon Hall. I go, yeah, when you get those freshmen down in the first floor taken care of, you guys let me know. Within a day, they had me come back. Their payphone was ripped off the wall. They were busted down there, beating individuals, whatever. And they go, we got it taken care of. Don't worry about it. Because they would, hassle the drivers or stiff them, not pay them, and just all kinds of stuff was going on. So they took care of business themselves. Well, the same kind of thing happens with apartment buildings. I mean, I'm a business owner. I can just say, we don't go there. You rob the guys, you beat them up, it's not safe, we're not going. But that's called redlining, and you're not allowed to do that. And you had to deliver, you had to put them in peril, and you had to pay security to go with them. And I'm like, that is like, so I'm not raising a family here. That ain't happening, So we just said, nope. I think we'll decline. This is right when, Donna and I were engaged to get married and everything. And I go, no, I went back to Arizona. And but now, Flint, I don't know, it's beautiful. It's really nice. Of course, we're not down in the city, but it's really nice. Now, Flint was one of the main, Detroit, Flint, where they had General Motors and whatever, they're making some cars. That's one thing that's interesting about the Great Lakes is how much iron ore is shipped. That's one of the reasons, why Detroit? Who gives a crap about Detroit? Detroit, I tell you what, let's make a worldwide industry of kick butt and build cars in, let me think, Detroit. Why? Because that's where the steel was, the iron. That's why you got Pittsburgh and in Pennsylvania, it's the rivers. What do they call it? Three Rivers, something there. And it's be able to transport the raw materials cheaply. So these big ships, they'd be filled with iron ore, and they would go and you add coal or coke or whatever, and you heat it up and you stir it a little bit, and you have 12-year-olds open valves, and and steel comes out. Basically. So doing that kind of industry, and jobs, and then what happens? Politics gets involved. Well, they destroyed that. Just like, on the front of Freedom's Phoenix right now, it's called Salon Owner Joins Tucker Carlson, Pushes Back on Pelosi's Claim She Was Set Up. What's happened, Pelosi is from San Francisco. I remember